Good morning. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. My name is Bruce Mullock. This morning's panel consists of Lisa Valentini, Joanne Hayes, Zahir Bayhat, and Erin Cheng. This will be a virtual public hearing. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event platform, moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting via their computer, a phone, or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will be automatically muted on entry. When his or her item is called, each participant will be muted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called upon to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property in order to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email only. You may not agree with the decision of the committee. Decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Procedure today. I will call each item in the order it is listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the applicant or agent may proceed with the presentation if so requested by the committee. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise me, the chair, should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are approaching the limit. When addressing the committee, please state your name clearly. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application only. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a present to the committee of the application if requested. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised in order to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support of or opposed to the application, will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after the speaker has finished their presentation. Once all interested speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will have an opportunity to rebut, but only to those issues that were raised by the speakers. And that will mark the end of discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have the minutes been confirmed for the last meeting?
No, not yet, because they were just last week, so they'll happen for the next meeting.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest by panel members or staff members as far as the items on this morning's agenda are concerned? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any files to be closed?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 3 on today's agenda, which is actually labeled incorrectly, but the contents are correct, is for 104 Kenwood Avenue. The applicant has requested that the file be closed as ownership has changed and the new owners aren't pursuing the application.
Thank you very much. All right then, panel, could we have a motion with respect to this request to close the file number 3? Motion by Mr. Bahat, seconded. Mr. Cheng. It is moved and seconded to close file number 3. All those in favor, show of hands, please. Motion is carried and file number 3 is closed. Thank you. We will now move on to this morning's agenda. Item number 1 is 29 Lincoln Boulevard. And on this application, the committee has before it the following communications. Material submitted by the applicant. There's a proposed streetscape rendering. Building height comparison submitted by the agent. Comparable charts and tree protection plan submitted by the agent. There are commenting reports from Engineering and Construction Services and from Urban Forestry. Committee has received correspondence in support from 892 Coxwell Avenue. We have also received communication in opposition from 20 Lankin, another from 20 Lankin, and one from 23 Lankin. So, moderator, is the agent with us this morning?
Yes, he is. However, the second speaker is not on the line. Norm, I'll unmute the agent now.
Okay, agent, if you would join us, please, and state your name as you do.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and member of the committee. This is Danilo Marquez Malasigan with the Office of T-Skirt EM Cube Design Studio, 73 May Avenue, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Okay, I'm just going to ask the moderator, would you try one more time to connect with the registered speaker, Mr. Gearnt? And We're just going to try one more time to connect here to see if we do have a person with us to speak to this application. And that'll help us determine whether or not we need a presentation.
Hi, is this Norm Gint?
Hi. Yes. Well, it's Laura Fasola. I'm in the same household.
Sorry, can you repeat what your name is? Can you confirm your name?
It's Laura Fasola.
Can you please spell that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's F like Frank, A-C-E-L-L-A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Laura, are you speaking on behalf of the registered speaker, Mr. Gerndt?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Then please stand by.
Thank you.
Please stand
Sure.
by. And do you live at 21 Lankin?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, then please stand by while we return to the agent. And Mr. Marasinian, we'll ask you, if you would, to make a presentation with respect to your application. You'll have 5 minutes. Go ahead now, please.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking now to the agent, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Marasinian. Go ahead, agent.
Thank you, sir. Okay. This application is a single-family dwelling with obviously with a list of variants at hand. The proposed dwelling is what we consider as a modern contemporary design. We do have the support from the Community Planning Department based on the email we have received on March 22nd, 2021. I just want to emphasize that during that review process with the Planning Department, myself and the owner of the subject property did have an opportunity to meet the area planner early last year prior to the COVID lockdown. After the meeting, we had made some numerous changes and adjustments from the initial concept to the final design based on the community planning suggestion for us to obtain support and satisfaction from the city planner. The proposed building height, the maximum height allowed is 8.5, obviously to the highest roof peak. We are seeking a deviation of 1.38, about 4.5 feet, to sum up the overall proposed height of 9.88. And the intent for that is to create or differentiate our exterior appearance from other recently built boxy looking modern house in the area. Something that was commented and suggested by the planning department during the review process. We believe that having a future kind of low slope roof together with the rich textured exterior appearance of brick and precast looking finishes, I believe that we have created a much more appealing streetscape rather than a boxy flat facade looking flat roof. I believe that not only we have managed to gain support and satisfaction in the planning department, I strongly believe that our exterior elevation and height that we are proposing is still in compliance with the general intent of the bylaw. It will be consistent with the current recently built and approved residential development in the area of Ward 14, Toronto Danforth area. Please refer to the supporting document that we have submitted. And if the, yeah, that's right, on the screen. It shows the COA comparable chart that we have prepared. It summarizes the area study that we have conducted that illustrate that the properties within Ward 14 in comparison that we are proposing and seeking relief in the bylaws. With regard to the example of the property that was built and approved with 9 meters to even 10 meters height, I've specifically highlighted them and submitted a streetscape study, which is on the screen right now. The properties of 9 to 10 meter building heights. The next thing is the floor space index. We are proposing an additional 3.09 meters of the existing rear wall. If you want to maybe show the site plan there. Uh, Please know that the proposed rear additions of 3.09, we are still able to maintain and comply with the zoning requirement of the maximum length allowed of 17 meters. Therefore, our proposed 17 meters length shouldn't have any impact to the adjacent properties. With reference to our proposed space planning of ground floor and second floor that triggered that proposed 0.93 FSI, we were able to provide 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, which is a necessity to a growing family of the owner, within that extended envelope of proposal, within that 17-meter maximum length. The bedroom area is designed to be not oversized and not undersized either. If you look at the size of the bedroom, it averages like 10 feet by 11 feet, and it's second story addition that maintained the existing width of the ground floor. We have designed the ground floor with an upper living area above the garage that added a significant usable area, but it's only affected internally, which I believe it's been a norm in most of the modern design that recently built, where an upper living area is created above the garage. I believe that that's just a smart use of space planning, in my opinion, to be able to create an interior space that's a necessity for a growing family. Again, you can please refer to the comparable study that we have prepared, and I have specifically highlighted.
I'll ask you now to make your final comment, please.
Okay, Madam Chair, Committee, I trust the comparable study that we have prepared is satisfactory, and reaching the intent and the intent that I have just shared this morning is also satisfactory. And I also believe that, in my opinion, the variances were requesting minor variance in nature and in keeping intended official planning act. And also, we're keeping the tree. we have submitted the.
Your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the speaker, registered speaker in opposition, please. Good morning. Please state your name once again as you join us.
Is this for me to speak?
Yes, this is your opportunity now to address the panel. You'll have a 5-minute time to do so. Please, if you would, go ahead and tell us your concerns.
Right, I see. Thank you very much. All right, appreciate the opportunity to participate. I think that there are some general concerns about the overall size of the building that is proposed, and in terms of how the size is beyond sort of minor variances. With respect to the first item, the minimum required lot frontage will be, as I understand it, the dwelling will be closer to the street than the other houses that are already on the street. And the floor space index that is proposed would be considerably larger than what the bylaw currently permits. I understand that there are allowances for going above that, but I think the question is this a reasonable increase above what is currently permitted? I think also for the fifth item, the maximum permitted lot coverage, 49% is quite significant, and quite a significant increase over the permitted 35%. And I think also item number 7, with the maximum height permitted, the height of the building being 9.88 meters is considerably above what is also the current bylaw permits. And I think, generally, it's looking to support development of the street, and houses, dwellings on the street, but also maintaining some cohesiveness to the neighborhood and some consistency from property to property. Those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could tell us, in your opinion, what will the impact of this proposal be, where to go ahead? What would the impact be on the cohesiveness you mentioned? How will it actually impact your enjoyment of your street and your property?
Well, I think that as the buildings on the street get bigger, essentially what happens is they get pushed into the backyards. And so the space in the backyards actually is encroached upon as the taller buildings go up and go back, so that everyone's backyard is actually impacted because the structures become closer and closer to the people. So I think it's generally in the back, being able to enjoy sort of the space that is available in our backyards without feeling that we're in the middle of, you know, all of these large buildings looking down onto the backyards. And I'm not against going up and supportive of you know, the buildings being renovated. It's really the size thing and the encroachment and what the impact that has on the space that is left in the backyards. And the front also, I think that right now the street has, you know, it has nice consistency and flow. There is nice space available in terms of the setbacks, the walks on the sidewalks, and, you know, the openness of the street. And if all the buildings were to be moved forward, that it would certainly impact the open feeling that exists currently today. And so I guess the feeling is it starts with one, and then it sets a precedent, and then, you know, slowly over time, all of the buildings are rebuilt and brought closer to the street. And therefore, we would be losing the openness that we currently enjoy on the street today.
Just one more question for you before I invite my panel member fellows to put their questions. Is it not true that there are similar new developments at both at 39 Lankin? Is there not a house of this general style down at 39 Lankin?
Is that I'm not sure which house you would be referring to. Is that on the corner?
I'll ask.
Lankin and
Could you put that up,
Cosford?
please? We're going to put up a photograph of it for you.
Oh, sorry, I don't have visual.
You're not watching us. Okay. Okay.
No.
Anyway, so all right then. Thank you. In that case, panel members, any other questions of this speaker? No.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Hi. I noticed you're at 21. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we're giving a comparable has been shown of. It's listed as 29, but it's 19. That's the house that's right beside you. It looks like it's a new build, similar in style, but very boxy. Yep. We don't have any stats, or I don't know if that got a minor variance. I don't have that information. Do you have any information in terms of how this proposal is going to compare to the one beside you? I mean, we do have information about the height of 19, but I don't know if there were, you know, any other variances, or do you have any background on that?
Well, I don't. That's not my house. I know that they did go through a similar process. I mean, I believe they applied for variances and went through the committee.
Okay,
So,
I was just wondering if you knew what the variances were, or in terms of how this will compare to that, but.
No, I haven't compared the two properties. So, I mean, as it is, the 19 does extend beyond, and a number of the houses do go back already, but I think my understanding is that this proposed property would go back even further than some of the recent redevelopments.
Okay,
And I just think it's a question of at what point, you know, is the decision made that, you know, that's as far back as people should be going.
Okay.
You know,
Thank
when the building beside you goes back further, there is an impact, and there is an impact to, you know, to the space that you have, right, in your backyard, with when it goes up, right? When it goes up and back, then, you know, their sight lines change. And so then there is an impact, right, to the space that we enjoy in our own backyards.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We appreciate your comments. We're going to return now to the agent. And agent, we'll ask you to comment on the concerns that have been raised, both in the letters we received and by this speaker. What I'm hearing is that there's an understanding that redevelopment will take place. In fact, there's a house of similar design that you've shown in your comparison, a couple of them on the street, but that the sense is that your proposal has gone a step further, and it's stepped over the line in terms of size by coming forward, front yard setback, coverage, FSI, to the point that it does impact people. Specifically, person spoke about enjoyment of backyard space. So that's what we'll ask you to comment on, please.
Okay. With regards to the front setback, the site plan clearly showed that we're keeping the existing walls. Where there's going to be like a minor adjustment on the existing bay window, but other than that, we're not going beyond the existing walls, and we're keeping that as an existing wall. And with regards to the backyard, I mean, we have 10.7 sites, rear setback that we're proposing, and it's not a minor variance issue. I mean, 10.7 to from a minimum 7.5 meters rear setback. I believe that we still have ample space of backyard, way beyond the minimum 7.5 meters. And with regards to the height, I believe that I had explained that already. The reasoning for that, we were coordinating with the city planning with regards to the style, and we end up introducing that slope roof, and that's the only thing. Or else, I mean, we actually proposed a flat roof initially, but with the comments of saying that trying to avoid a bossy looking house, to add a 4.5 feet of 412 slope roof, I don't think that's gonna create any impact at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, further questions for the agent, please? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. So I maybe would like to ask you this question in terms of 19 Lincoln. You've listed that as a comparable as well as 39 in terms of its height.
Yes.
But when I look at your chart of comparables for FSI, coverage, that type of thing, to me, the ones you've provided don't include those two, as far as I can see. I may have overlooked it. First of all, and second of all, it looks like you've, in my view, taken from an area that is wider than the immediate vicinity. Some of these streets that you've listed are on the other side of Coxwell, I believe. So where I think, in my view, the feel of that neighborhood is very different than this particular section of Lincoln. Now, I just would like to know, the two that you listed close by, they obviously got height variances, I'm assuming.
Yes.
What about FSI and lot coverage? Because it's not just height, there's also the lot coverage issue in my view, and the FSI. All of those, in combined with the height, speak to how big or how the impact of the massing of the building. So can you give us some information, if you have any, on those other two comparables in terms of massing or FSI and coverage, please?
Unfortunately, I didn't get any information on that when I was doing my study. I just basically, went to the site, did my visual comparison, and measure the height approximately. I mean, obviously, the two properties went through the same process, I believe. Unfortunately, I don't have that information. That's just how I basically, I basically base, you know, the intent of the design. That's the, and also, again, I've coordinated with the city planning during the committee of adjustment process, review process.
In terms of the heights you provided of those two buildings, that's not taken from a variance decision or anything like that? You've
No,
somehow
no,
measured it? I
no.
don't know how you've measured it, but
I mean, there's a, you know, there's a way of doing the illustration on that you scale it, you compare the garage height. I mean, the area is a pretty flat, street. I mean, it's not, you know, the perfect thing, but you know, I believe the streetscape illustrate the best way possible of comparing them. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're high. I'm not denying that we're higher than them, but you know, there's a good reason why we're higher than them.
Panel members, any further questions of the speaker? Go ahead, Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. Just furthering to my colleague's question, so the tables that you provided with all the comparables, isn't most of that, was that information garnered from reviewing previous decisions of the committee? And
Yes.
was the decision of the committee on number 19 or 39 not available? Or, because I have similar questions, because in visiting the property, I could certainly see those two builds, but I don't see any information on the extensive list of properties you've provided related to those two. And I'm just, in terms of comparing, I'm very curious as to what permissions they were granted. Was that information not available?
From what I gather, like, I mean, I'm you know, I'm doing my research also online, right? And unfortunately, I couldn't find any information with those specific properties. So
Okay.
I just went focusing on the zoning that has 0.45 in the area, 0.5 requirements on the area, which is, you know, the LANKIN, the glebe mount area. So I mean, the idea there is within the Ward 14 Toronto Danforth area. So
Okay, so I have a question with respect to the front yard setback. You, just furthering to the comments made by the resident on the street, from reviewing the you've made submissions that the front yard setback is really with respect to the bay that extends up 2 floors. But the stairs and the entrance platform extend into the front yard beyond the bay.
yes, yeah.
So how far further into the front yard do those stairs and landing go compared to the property next door at 27?
Will be about approximately 4 to 5 feet, maybe closer to the property line.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Panel members, any further questions of this agent? Mr. Bahat.
Good morning. Just, I'd like to get a little perspective on item number 5, the maximum permitted lot coverage. 35% to 49% seems quite excessive. Can you explain?
Well, when you do when you do an addition to the existing lot, I mean, it's obviously the lot coverage would be deficient. I mean, again, the comparison study chart that we have prepared shows a lot of 50% also, 50%, 60, 50, 45, 60, 50% lot coverage. And that was just our kind of driving force to, you know what, it's been done before, so I mean, there's no, it's nothing wrong of copying what has been going on with the recent development on the area.
Thank you.
Mr.
If
Chang.
I can just
one more
sorry.
question. So when you ask for those extra coverage,
Yes.
I don't see you need to reduce, or I don't think you trigger any variances for minimum green space or soft landscape. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes,
both of your front yard and backyard do not have any. You do not have to cut any trees. There's no.
Nope.
No soft landscape variances. I think your coverage is kind of determined by the rear setback, because you didn't ask for that.
Yep.
And this is why the height is being driven. And that's how you get the massing. So you basically, your design approach was to try to trigger, not to trigger the backyard, the backyard setback, not to get into the green landscape. You respect that side, but because of the spatial requirement, I'm looking at your plans, and this is why you generate the space. The staircase is a little bit troublesome, to be honest with you. It's very unique on the whole streetscape, but other than that, I don't have any comments.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, just one further question. With respect to the lot coverage, just looking at the chart, as my colleague had mentioned previously, many of the properties that are noted in this comparison, I would suggest are not in the immediate neighborhood. Are there any in the immediate context of this street, at least being east of Coxwell, that have a lot coverage that is similar to what you're requesting? If you can point it to me on your chart, that would be great. I just can't see one off the top of my head. Review here. I mean, you've got a lot on Glebe Mount, and you've got some on
Barker, 42.7.
Yeah, but
the Holborns. I mean, again, I mean, our approach is not to only, with regards to proving our point. We cannot just. We have to take consideration of the ward, the area. So.
Well, that's my question exactly. In terms of our requirement to consider the character of the area. Thank you.
Thank you. So I couldn't hear anything. Hello.
The chair is speaking, but we can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear. Is the microphone on, Bruce?
Pardon me. Pardon me. Okay, panel members. Sorry, we're back in business, and Agent, we have now taken the application into committee for discussion. So, who'd like to go first on some background or some thoughts on the Ms. Lisa Valentini, please.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I think in my view, to me, the chart of comparables, well, helpful to have that information. I haven't checked every single one, but a large number of them that I checked are not within what I would call the immediate context or vicinity. In my view, those neighborhoods, I don't think they're relevant in terms of this application because they don't tell us what's going on in the immediate area. I would have liked to have seen what exactly is going on in terms of variances for 19 and 39. And I think that would have been very helpful for me to compare to what we have today. I have concerns, to be honest, about the floor space index in conjunction with the coverage and the height, that as well as the height. I'm assuming the height is comparable to those two, but it would have been helpful to have actual solid numbers on that. So I have concerns about this application and supporting it. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Ms. Hayes?
Yes, I would mirror the comments of my colleagues. I think my concern is that I don't have any information with respect to the other properties on the street. Certainly 19, it certainly looks like a large build, but I don't know the stats on it. But it's not encroaching into the front yard the way this one is. To me, the cumulative impact of all the variances, the front yard, and that changing the pattern of development and the streetscape, as well as the lot coverage and the FSI, are of concern to me with respect to this application. And I haven't received sufficient information to dissuade me of my concerns with respect to those matters. Those would be my thoughts.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chang. Mr. Byatt? Mr. Chang? Go ahead.
Hi. So I was actually trying to think of it in a different way. What if everyone is looking for a precedent case, and in that case, then nobody can actually develop a comparison chart? So for the sake of the argument, I look at it just by itself, comparing to the allowed zoning and the current streetscape. And what I find that is the applicant is trying very hard to maximize what can be done within the lot. He's trying not to squeeze into the back, trying to respect the neighborhood. So the massing becomes so tall. I think, and this is why you can see the floor index is suddenly spike up. And for that reason, I can understand, but I'm not very agreeing with. The biggest issue to me is the staircase at the front. That is extremely intrusive to the whole streetscape. So from more like an urban fabric type of point of view, even though there's not enough sufficient precedent cases, I still don't think this is an appropriate or this is a minor changes to the whole streetscape. I think there's a major changing here.
Thank you. Any comment, Mr. Byatt?
Yeah, I have listened to, I think, both to all my colleagues, and I am a little concerned. And I think Mr. Chang's comments are probably the ones I would agree with most. So for that reason, I think it's not an application that I could support.
Thank you. For my part, I'm thinking along the same lines as my colleagues. Cumulative effect of front yard setback, FSI, the coverage, together persuade me that the application is not minor and it's not really desirable. I think it might have done better to rely more heavily on data that arose from City of Toronto type things like Committee of Adjustment decisions, and that what we are presented with, these comparables are not close enough for us to consider them as really the same neighborhood, or the same, not the same street, even the same general neighborhood. So for that reason, I would not be supporting the application either. So having said that, panel members, I would look to one of you for a motion, please, with respect to this application. Ms. Valentini?
Mr. Chair, based on my earlier comments, I'd like to bring a motion forward for refusal of the application.
Motion to refuse, is there a second for that? It is seconded by Mr. Byatt. All those in favor, show of hands, please. So unanimous vote, the motion is carried, the application is refused. And with that, panel moves to item number 2 on our agenda, 523 Lansdowne Avenue. On this application, the committee is dealing simply and solely with the materials submitted by the applicant. And I'm going to just check with the moderator now to see. Moderator, do we have speakers registered who are standing by? Okay, fine. So we do have speakers registered standing by to speak to this application, and so we will go. I'll ask the agent now to join us, stating your name as you join us, please.
Good morning. This is Imran Khan. I'm the agent of the owner for this application.
Thank you very much.
You can go ahead and ask me any question if you need.
Well, Mr. Khan, we're going to ask you, please, you'll have 5 minutes to present us with the details or a sense of the thrust and flavor of your application. You have 5 minutes beginning now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, we proposed 2 variances. The first one is regarding the percentage of interior area for the dwelling units. And I like to mention the existing condition of the building first. This building, 2-story building and basement, with the basement, we have a couple of building permit already approved last year. As per that, those building permit, there is already 1 dwelling unit in the basement, and the other one is in ground and second floor. This variance for the first one, percentage of interior area for the additional dwelling unit in the second floor, we are proposing. This is creating 63.6% of the floor area. In our observation, in the adjacent area, we already found that there are several applications already approved previously. The percentage above 45%, which is permitted. Our one is very close to the application already approved in 2020 March 11. That is 345 Lansdowne Avenue, and the variance was 63%. Our case is 63.6%. This is the first one, to create another dwelling unit in the second floor, so that existing building will have 3 units if this is going well, this application is going well. The second one is for the landscape ratio of the rear yard landscape area, and this is basically we are not doing anything. We have, as I told before, we have already 2 permit application approved last year, and as per those permit application, we already have done whatever we need to do for the rear yard. We have 1 walkout stair, 1 rear yard stair. On the rear yard, we have another stair going to the second floor as the entrance to the second floor directly from the outside. So we are not doing anything, already approved, and that construction is already closed and permit is closed. This rear yard landscaping area is already existing. This variance only came as we applied for the second unit in the second floor. So this variance came, but we are not changing anything. The condition is existing. This percentage, 42.2% of landscape area already existing there. So in my opinion, these both variances are reasonable, and also confirming the neighborhood other proposal already approved previously.
Thank you very much. Stand by, please, while we hear from the registered speakers that are with us online. Okay. Moderator.
Okay, Ms. Winch, you are unmuted if you're able to speak.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Please join us and state your
yeah.
name.
My name is Abigail Carpenter Winch.
Good morning. Good morning. So you are now with the committee, and we'd like to hear your views. You have 5 minutes to state your concerns.
Great. So I live a couple doors down on the laneway. I don't live on the laneway, but my house enters, we share the laneway. And basically, like, they built this with the intention to make it 3 units, which was really slimy because that's not what the original permits were for. The laneway there is actually really, really tight. The pavement's not very good. It's hard to get around the corners. They're right on the corner of the laneway that goes from Lansdowne to St. Clair's and the laneway that just goes between those 2 streets. So they're at the crossroads. And the pavement there is not good. There's not a lot of visibility. So it's like not safe to have people who are to have that much traffic on the corner and to have that be the main entrance. Because like who couldn't have kids living in
Abigail.
because they wouldn't be, yeah.
Let me just,
Sorry.
for whatever reason, your voice is a little bit, it's blurring a bit, and it's getting louder and softer. So I'm gonna, if
I hold my headphones right here, is this better?
I'm gonna ask you to maybe slow your voice too a little bit, so that we have a better chance of grasping what you're saying. Please go ahead.
Great, sorry. So the entrance that's there, there's 2 entrances that were built with the intention of having there be different access to the first and second floor, but the entrance that's not through the parking, but just right on the laneway, isn't like really, I wouldn't have kids go there. It's not accessible. It's not a way that I would have be a main entrance to a house for sure. And they're coming right out into the laneway where there is a ton of cars and bikes and walkers. It's like a really popular place to be. Also like the units are quite a bit smaller than they're supposed to be. So there's not we're not increasing housing units in the neighborhood that are able to be used as long-term housing that can take families with kids, that could take people who want to make it really a home because they're living in really, really tiny spaces. And yeah, mostly that's it. Like just it's hard because it's on the corner of the laneway in both directions. There's not any access from Lansdowne, and the laneway like isn't really built to support that. And I don't know if the laneway like could end up getting built to support that with like a stronger road in better condition, but at the moment it's really like it's just like really tight. And if they actually were to have people living there, I think it would kind of suck. Okay, that's all I have.
Thanks, Abigail. Panel members, any questions for speaker? Yes, Ms. Valentini. Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Just had trouble. Yep, I was had trouble unmuting. Is the laneway suite already built? We have the
Totally.
Google version, but it's not here. It is built and it's already occupied, or?
I don't think people are living there. I've never seen it
Okay.
before.
Because based on the plans, it looks like they'll be leaving, coming and going through the laneway, unless there's access to the rear of the property from Lansdowne, which I don't think there is, but I can't tell. Is there?
Sorry.
No, maybe you can enlighten me.
There's 2 doors. There's like one door that's a regular sized door that has a couple of steps into it that's like literally on the laneway. So like you step off out of the door, like right there into traffic. And then there's a second sliding door that's like I think it's like gonna be a couple of parking spaces that's between the laneway house and the front house.
Okay, but that's already built and that's not the subject of today. I was just wondering if it was there and how that's functioning, because you mentioned concerns about people leaving through the laneway. So it doesn't sound like it's occupied.
If they divide it into 2 units, then one of the units will have to, like the intention is to use, I assume, to use that door as their main door instead of having the other door be the main door. Just like I think my concern is mostly that it wasn't built to have that much capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moderator? Do we have Maria Judas with us? Okay, then, Maria, please join us. State your name as you do.
Oh, I I'm here for mainly interest only.
Okay. This is your chance, but you have nothing you particularly want to say.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Okay. Right, I think so too. Okay, then we'll return now to the agent for rebuttal.
Yeah, hi.
And agent, something, if you just address this for my, in your rebuttal, if you could for me, could you describe to me the end result of this proposal where it to proceed would be 3 units or 4 units? Please go ahead.
No, this is 3 units. As I told you before, that basement has already 1 unit, and we have ground and second floor another unit existing as per building permit, and it's we are just having another unit in the second floor. And with respect to the apartment area, each unit area, I think it's standard for that area, because we have 790 square feet for each floor, right? So in my case, 790 square feet for that dense urban area, it's not a small, not a small unit, right? So it's a very good size of unit. And also with respect to the access to the units, and as I heard from one of the neighbor telling about the access to the units, right? In my what you see on the site plan, the laneway, existing laneway access is coming from it's from the service road at the behind, right? And this one is the front side. One unit is the ground floor access is from the front side, and that basement and the second floor from the rear side, but it's not conflicting with the laneway. It's the all units it's very much away from with respect to the access. So yeah, this is the thing I can tell further. If you have any question, I can answer.
Thank you very much. Panel members, questions for the applicant, please. Ms. Hayes.
I just have a question with respect to the units, just to make sure I'm reading it right. So you're saying the basement unit exists, and that appears to be a 2-bed, 1-bath size. The main floor is another unit, and it looks to be 1 bedroom, 3 bathrooms. And the second floor plan looks to be 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Am I correct?
Yeah, whatever the plan shows, already these are existing. We are just doing the conversion, that's it.
No, well, okay, so all the units currently exist, you're just now seeking permission for them to be legal, or you're creating another unit on the second floor?
No, I'm telling about the layout is existing, but there are 2 units are now existing, basement, and the other one is second floor and ground floor, right? But we are creating another unit in second floor, but the layout will be the same as it is now. We are only change. We will create living room and dining room and kitchen if we get the approval, building permit in the second floor. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my question for you, applicant, then, the purpose of the application I'm going to read, it is to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by performing interior alterations to create 2 secondary suites for a total of 3 dwelling units. My question to you quite simply is, because the committee needs to understand this, is all the construction work that would be required to achieve that purpose, is all the construction work already completed?
This layout construction already the owner did all the construction, the layout as per the plan, right?
Is the
but
work,
whatever
no, my question is that work already completed? Is that work completed now, or is it yet to be completed, or partly completed? If you could answer that, please.
This layout is completed as per the plan, but not building code requirement, like we need fire separations if we want to create that second unit in the second floor, right? Third unit in the second floor.
So, okay, but it's, what, would it be fair to say the work is 80% complete?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, further questions of the applicant? Ms. Valentini.
If you could just speak to the access, the neighbor has suggested that there's an issue with access to the property from the laneway. So the basement unit looks like you've got a permit for, and I think there's only access from the basement unit through the laneway. Then we've got the laneway suite. And so is there a way to get from the rear of the house to the street without going through the laneways or walkway or anything?
Laneway access is from the backside, this is a corner lot. I can say that there are three. One is the municipal main road, and the other two roads are the service road, right? On the side, on the south and on the east, right? So there is more flexibilities for the circulations and pedestrian circulations. Also, the laneway access is near to the southeast corner, whereas for the two units, like the basement, and if it is possible for the second floor, the third unit, its access is from the backside of the existing building, but it has a certain level of these entrances have certain level of distance from the laneway. It shows on the site plan, right? So it's a certain level of distance from the laneway access, and the second unit, which is in the second ground floor, it has direct access from the municipal road, the front road, the Lansdowne Avenue, right? So in my sense, all accesses are very defined and not conflicting to each other. And as there are two roads, service roads, and one municipal main road, so circulation is very flexible, in my opinion, what we can see on the site plan also.
Thank you. Further questions of the applicant?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Byatt.
Just a quick question. I'm a little perplexed, and it follows up on the chair's question. I get the feeling that these units are already existing, and all that's required at this point is a legalization of it. You've also got a laneway suite, which has got nothing to do with the application at hand. But is that also a legal laneway suite, and is that currently occupied with one or two units in it?
Thanks for your question. I'm just what I mentioned before. The plan what was submitted here for the Committee of Adjustment Minor Variance. This is showing the proposed drawing with respect to the use of the room, right? Like we are showing the second floor living, dining, kitchen, and at the same time the bedroom. These uses of each rooms in the second floor is not existing. It has currently there is an internal stair to the second floor, right, from the ground floor. So there is an interlinked stair between these two floors. But our proposal is to take out that existing internal stair, right? After approval, is possible after approval this application, and also currently there is no living and kitchen and dining area in the second floor, but we are going to do after this approval, if this is possible to approve, then we are going to have living and dining and kitchen in the second floor, right? There is like, as mentioned before, 80% already done.
Okay.
But 20% you have to apply building permit.
Applicant,
and get the approval.
applicant, could you respond? Part of the panel member's question was with respect to the laneway suite. Could you respond to that part of the question which related to whether the laneway suite is 1 unit or 2, whether it's occupied?
This is only 1 unit, 3 levels, basement and ground and second floor, but it's for 1 unit. And all the construction here is already building permit is closed, right? So all are existing as per the building permit approval and construction.
Thank you. Further questions for the agent? Ms. Hayes, please go ahead.
Okay, just one point of clarification. So the proposed suites or existing suites on the ground floor, and the second floor will access through the rear of the property, and exiting from the property, the only exit is through across the lane, down the laneway. There is no access to the back of the property other than on the laneway. There's nothing on the property itself that would allow you to access the rear of the property. Am I correct in understanding what you've said?
The existing second unit in the basement, its access is from the back side of the building, right? From the laneway on the south side, right? And the ground floor unit is this access is from the Lansdowne Avenue directly, right?
Okay.
And the possible future third unit, it's access also from the laneway on the south.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, then the panel will take this application into committee now for discussion and a decision. So, panel members, could I ask you please for some comments on this application, please? Let's see what we think about it. Who'd like to go first? Mr. Byatt, go ahead.
For one, seemingly the 2 variances that are requested, seemingly on the surface they seem not problematic. What bothers me is that you've got construction 80% of which is complete, and to me it seems almost as if I'll do the work now, get it ready, and then ask for an approval after. It's almost as if there's something a little that I'm uncomfortable with, that it's trying to legalize something that has already been done. That bothers me. So not too comfortable at the moment.
Thank you very much. And that issue is always problematic for us. We are reminded that the committee's job is to consider the application. Even if we know it's built, is to consider the application as would we have permitted it, or what would our thoughts on it have been had it been simply a proposal on paper? Would we have been in favor or against? But I do hear you with respect to that. It's always problematic. Other comments, please. Ms. Valentini?
I don't necessarily, or originally when I looked at it, I wasn't concerned about adding a third unit in terms of the interior floor area variance. That's common. I don't think these units are particularly small if they're over 700 square feet. My concern is the fact that the exits of the three of the units are through the laneway, and in looking at what it looks like in terms of the access to the laneway, there's not a walkway along the side of the house. That's where my concern lies. So I don't know if that necessarily, I guess it relates to the variances because they're asking for a third unit, but I have concerns about the access to the building through the laneway myself.
Thank you. Yes. Other comment, please. Okay, if there is none, I would share, I would share my, or I would share my thoughts with you, and I do think that the access issue could have been better handled and should be part of the, in order to make the application desirable, it should be handled better. But I will look to panel members then, if there are no further comments within the committee. Oh, Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
I share some of the observations of Ms. Valentini. I think that the example provided with respect to the floor area, that 345 has 63%, provides us with some example. I don't think it's uncommon for multiple units on this street. The access would be problematic. I would hope that they may allow some ability to access through the rear of the property onto the rear laneway rather than the side. However, we have received no comments from transportation or planning with respect to the access issue. I don't think that the third unit or the area variance being requested or the landscape variance is unprecedented. The site plan does show that the access stairs are at least set back from the laneway sufficiently so someone's not coming directly down the stairs onto the laneway. So having all those things in mind, I think and that we have no objection or even any comment from any city departments with respect to the access issue, I would lean to be in support of the application.
Mr. Chang.
I am more inclined to understand the project as closer to what Ms. Valentini said, even though there is no, I mean, I couldn't figure out why transportation didn't make any comment, maybe they didn't have a chance, but if I'm just looking at it purely from a logical point of view without the input, I think it is quite problematic.
I beg.
That's the biggest concern I have.
I'm not following quite where you're. Are you thinking in terms of supporting it or not supporting it?
Not supporting, sir.
Okay then, if there are no further comments, I'd look to panel for a motion on the application, please.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to bring a motion forward for refusal of the application. They're looking to add a third unit, and I think part of our, in terms of looking at whether or not the property can accommodate the third unit, we need to look at in terms of circulation on the site. I don't think having 3 units access through the laneway, based on what it appears to be, is probably a good thing. So based on that reasoning, I don't feel that it meets the 4 tests in terms of desirability, in terms of the development of the property. So I can't support the application. So the motion's for refusal.
Thank you very much. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Cheng. Thank you. So there is a motion to refuse. Seconded. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands, please. And those opposed. Let the record show Ms. Hayes is opposed. The motion is carried. The application is refused. And the panel moves on to item number 4, which is 11 Seaforth. On this application, the panel has before it materials submitted by the applicant. We also have correspondence in opposition from 15 Seaforth and 1460 Queen Street West. Moderator, may I ask you, is the registered speaker in opposition with us? Very good, okay. Okay, then I'll ask the agent to join us then, stating your name as you do join us.
Morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Enzo Lacasano. I am the representative for the owner.
Very good, Mr. Lacasano. Mr. Lacasano, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation. The panel is listening. Go ahead.
Thank you. This application was actually before you on September the 2nd in 2020 as a fourplex with 10 variances. Since then, we've worked closely with the planning department and tried to pick up certain features of the area or in the character of the buildings. And also, we took into account a lot of the comments from the previous board. We understand there are 2 letters which we feel we've actually addressed. In the case of the variances, out of the 5, 2 are really a technical variance, where the height is really a conversion factor. As you can see, it's only 10.07 over 10 meters. We decided to leave it on as a variance because the examiner felt that it was the correct number, rather than we thought 10 meters is what we were showing. The setback on number 4 is the main building on the east side does meet the 1.2 meters for the majority. The only portion that doesn't meet, where it shows the 0.31, is the exit stair extension, which actually starts on the 2nd floor as a cantilever. We did that in order, 1, to create a feature to the building, but also to allow proper access underneath it with proper height. The other side, the west side, the building is pretty much where the existing building is now. So that really is not a major change to what is there now, except for that the building is now a 3-story rather than a 2-story. Now the final item, which is the building depth. Now the 22 meters is a little bit skewed because it's actually taken from the front yard setback, and as you can see from the site plan, the depth is taken from that front yard setback, which is much further ahead. Now we tried to keep the building in the same location, 1, to respect the location of number 9 and not totally shade him out from a view, but also to protect the tree that's currently there. Because the building itself is actually, it's 21 meters at the ground floor, but 20 meters at the 2nd and 3rd floors. With regards to the sidewall height, again, that's taken because of the flat roof situation. But like I mentioned before, the front elevation, where we tried to slope the roofs back with a dormer, which is really the character of the area. And I always find that it's always worse to try to actually mimic what's in the area. What you want to do is respect the area and take certain features, and obviously it's a more modern and up-to-date building that we're creating. So those are really all my comments with regards to the variances.
Thank you very, very much. let's go to those registered speakers who are with us, and moderator. Okay, so I'll ask the speaker to join us, stating your name as you do.
Hi, Kelvin, if you can mute whatever is playing in the background so we don't hear any feedback.
I don't have anything playing in the background.
We hear an echo. If you're on speaker, you can take it off speaker.
I guess I can turn my. Yeah, I'm speaking from a webcam, so probably that's what you're hearing. So I'll turn off the speaker for now until I finish, and then I'll turn it back on. Can you give me a thumbs up if it's this is good?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
I was here for the last meeting also, and
just a moment.
And I think one of the main
Just a moment, please.
And Mr. Shang, I think you had a major concern also about the size of this property on this lot. One of my main concern for me, because I'm just a couple of doors down, is a bit of a privacy issue, especially with the balconies at the back. I could appreciate that the applicant, I see on the drawing that there is now an opaque wall towards my side, but that doesn't help with someone standing at the rail, leaning over. They can see almost everything in everyone's backyard. Basically, I've sent in my submission. I sent pictures in from my backyard. What it would look like from my backyard. Just imagine the height, like 15-20 feet up, a balcony. Someone standing there could see almost everything in everyone's backyard, overtowering. It's like eyes in the sky for everyone. So it will affect the enjoyment of the neighbors, because it is going to be the highest building in that row. I know that there are higher buildings towards the end of the street, or high buildings, but in this row of properties, it will be, I believe, it's the highest property, and someone standing that high will have a bird's eye view of everything in the immediate area. That was my major concern. The second concern I had was parking. We have a major concern with parking here. As soon as you leave with your car, you come back, the parking is gone. I know the applicant would say that there's parking around the area. Last time he said there's Brock Street, half of the street from Queen Street all the way to where the train track is. There's no parking in that street. On O'Hara, there's always a lot of cars there also, because I think a lot of people work in the area and it's all taken up. So coming home with grocery or bring my daughter home, if she's sleeping, I have to illegally park on the sidewalk to bring her in, or park really far and then kind of lift her home. I've sent a picture of that also to give you an idea. I took the picture in the middle of the day, and every parking was taken up on the street. So we also have a huge condo going up at the head of the street, also at the head of Seaforth and Brock. And when that's up, that's going to be another strain on the area for parking with visitors and things like that. So yeah, those are my concerns.
Thank you very much. Panel members, any questions? Hearing none, we'll go back now to Mr. Lacasano.
Hi.
Mr. Lacasano, concern expressed with respect to privacy, specifically overlook, because in that speaker's view, your proposal would represent the highest structure on the street and would have broad overlook into other people's backyards. Also concerned about parking. Go ahead with your rebuttal, please.
Again, with regards to parking, we don't have a variance for parking. That was one of the major changes that we had to make to meet planning, was that we converted it from a 4-unit, which is what we presented in the past. This is a 3-unit dwelling, which does not require any parking variance. Now, the one thing I do want to bring up, that actually one of the neighbors in the second application you had today was that the biggest issue in these areas is rental units or quality rental units for families. Most of the rental units that are going up are usually for single or couples, nothing for kids. So there's really no chance for growth in the area with regards to families. So this was one of our main issues, was to create quality rental units for families and not just for single people. Now, the majority of the numbers for the area for rental housing is 56% of the dwellings in the area are for rental. Now, with regards to the
Mr. Locasano,
privacy issue, sorry, I'm just going to deal with the privacy issue.
please, I'd like you to address the issues raised by
yes.
the speaker. The issues raised by the speaker
sorry.
were overlook, privacy overlook.
Yeah. Now, the overlook, we did provide an opaque screen of 6 feet. I tend to differ with regards to looking to the west. The only thing we're going to have a view of the west are the garages in the laneway that are to the west of us. Somebody would literally have to lean over to see anything on 15, 17, or 19. And with all due respect, the neighboring properties to him at 17, 21, and 25 have third floor, not balconies, but decks built. So I would say they would have a big or more of an impact for overview than we would. Again, I have to say that there is no overview in respect to any of the properties towards the west. Yes, we do have an overview of the property towards the east, which is number 9. So with all, we feel that this project meets all the tests. We've done a lot of work with the planning department, and we feel that this is an appropriate development for this area and much needed.
For my clarity, you did mention willingness, in fact intent, to install opaque screening, and that would be...
Correct, it's shown on the drawing.
Okay, and that's going to be to block...
The west side only.
Okay, now let me get this straight now. Will that take care of the issue of the overlook to the east, on which side? That's where the overlook issue is properties to the east, correct?
No, it's to the west. The east, there's only one property to the east, which is number 9. And then
I'm
there's a
confused.
laneway.
I'm confused. I thought you said looking to the west was only garages, so not an overlook issue.
Yes, that's correct. That's all. What I'm saying is that's all we can see from the balcony, because the neighbor at 17 is saying that we can see his backyard, but I tend to differ, because you would have to lean right over and you still wouldn't see the rear of his property. All you see is all the garages aligned along that laneway, which is towards the west.
Okay, so but just so we're clear, I'm just getting my directions here, trying to imagine them in my mind. So you're going to put the opaque screening on the side that neighbor is located on, is that correct?
Correct, yes, towards 13, 15, 17.
Thank you very much. Panel members, other questions for the speaker? Okay then, hearing none, let's take this application into committee for a discussion if needed, or for a motion, please. Do we need discussion, or can we go straight to a motion? I'd just make one comment to panel, and that is if you're considering an approval, you may want to, well, I guess the opaque screening is already in the drawing, but we could cite it as a condition.
I'm happy to begin, Mr. Chair. So I don't have the benefit of, what the previous application was, but it sounds like a lot of work has been done in terms of the applicant working with planning and making some changes. We heard it was originally a fourplex and is now down to a triplex. I think in my view, initially, looking at it, I was looking at the depth variance, but as Mr. Lacosano has mentioned, the property is set back and the depth is measured from the front yard setback. And I did note that there are no other variances that are associated with, often when you see depth, there's a minimal height, but there's not an FSI variance or a landscape variance or anything like that. So I'm in support of the application. I think the minimal height being requested is not going to have any impact, in my view, on the streetscape. And I feel that in terms of overlook from the balconies, I think that's been addressed. Mr. Lacosano has pointed out that they are proposing to put a screening on those two balconies on the west side, which will eliminate any overlook. I mean, I doubt anybody's going to want to hang over the balcony and look over over the screen, around the screen to neighboring properties. So I feel that the screening will do its job. So I'm in support of the application.
Thanks very much. Mr.
No motion
Byatt.
unless anybody.
Mr. Byatt,
I would like, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Byatt.
I was just going to say that I'd like to concur with Ms. Valentini, and I would be in support of the application as well.
Okay, Ms. Valentini, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Did you care you wanted to make a motion? If you do, go ahead, please.
I'm happy to make a motion to move it along. My motion would be for approval of the application, and there are no conditions. And maybe we should tie it to plans so that we have the screening on the balcony on the west side. So I'm just looking for the proper plan. I think there's an elevation.
Take your time.
It would be the elevation on the, I guess it's drawing E9, the west side.
South elevation drawing shows it.
Thank you. So the south elevation drawing, the one that shows the screening. Thank you, on the west side.
Thank you very much. Okay, there is a motion to approve by Ms. Valentini. Is there a second to that? Seconded by Mr. Byatt. And staff, have you got the idea there with respect to the drawing to reference? Okay.
Yeah, it does show it on the south elevation,
Okay.
so that makes sense.
So a motion to approve, seconded. All those in favor, show of hands, please. Unanimous. So the motion is carried. The application is so approved. The panel moves on to item number 5, which is 23 Vesta Drive. On 23 Vesta, panel is dealing with materials submitted by the applicant. We have presentation material submitted by the application, also received 23 June. There is correspondence in opposition from 24 Delavan Avenue, and that was received on June 29th. So let's just check then with the moderator. Moderator, I'm not seeing anyone listed to speak in opposition on this. No, okay. So, I'll ask the agent to join us, stating your name as you do, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. It's David Bronskill. I hope I'm coming through okay for you.
You're coming through very, very clearly, David. Thank you very much. Dave, I'm going to check with my fellow panel members to see.
Thank you. And just
I'm going to check with them to see if they'd like a presentation or not. So, panel members, on number 5, 23 Vesta, would you like a presentation? No? No, okay. So no presentation. The members have reviewed the materials. No presentation is requested. I'll just cite.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt.
go ahead.
Apologies, I didn't want to be derelict in my duties. There is one revision to the variances that I should just point out as part of bringing this package forward.
That's very important. If you would, refer to the variance by number first. Its number on today's, on the actual.
Yes, variance 8. Yes, sir, variance 8, the permitted height, and it's included in the package that we submitted to the committee, and it's shown as with a red X, which is eliminated, and that's for height under the old bylaw, zoning bylaw 43886. There was a maximum permitted height of 11. The new detached dwelling would have had 11.08. The architect has been able to eliminate that variance, so even those 8 centimeters are no longer required. So we would only be asking for approval of variances 1 through 7.
Okay, that's a small change. It's making the application less severe, so it's permissible in my view. And thank you very much for interrupting me on that one. That's important to capture that detail. Let me just, I just want to cite for the panels. Okay. Okay, let's just move then to the panel. Panel, oh, go ahead, Ms. Valentini.
I just have a quick question. In terms of the length and the depth, I did note in the materials that it says that it's includes the excavated terrace or the terrace. Without the terrace, can you give me an idea of what the depth or the length is?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I knew that question was going to be asked, and I had some slight technical difficulties this morning to get some of the materials up. But so I apologize. I'm not going to be able to give you an exact number. But on the site plan, where I can sort of give it to you by comparison, I think. Do you, Ms. Valentini, do you see there's a red line that we've included on the site plan? That's the permitted.
Yes, I do.
Building envelope, thank you.
Okay.
And we've indicated that the 20, so we're almost within it. That rear portion that's cross-hatched, which would be the one-story portion, it's a little bit further or closer to one property line as opposed to almost centered. So we've played a little bit with that back portion, but otherwise the house, and sorry, I should say there's also the front porch that projects, which technically counts. But otherwise the main body of the building, I would say to you, by and large, meets the bylaw requirements for length.
So then if we're looking at the site plan that has very helpfully all the kind of colors and outlines, so you're saying then that the red outline that says permitted, that would be what would be allowed as of right if it was built within the zoning bylaw in terms of width and depth and length and stuff like that. Is that correct? Did I understand you correctly?
Correct, exactly.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. My question for the applicant arises from the letter of opposition we received from 24 Delavan. The owner at 24 has written to committee with comments on each of the formerly eight proposed variances, but a couple that I'll bring up. He does refer to your proposal as a situation involving overbuild for the site, and specifically he talks about the rear portions of the two houses being too close together as proposed. Could you comment on those issues, please?
I can. I don't think it's an overbuild. We just, in terms of the numbers, I mean, as this committee may well remember with me, I always try to talk to you about both a quantitative and qualitative analysis so that the numbers in and of themselves don't tell the whole story, but we do like to provide them to you just to give you a sense as to, patterns of approvals in the area. That's page 4 of the package in terms of densities. And you'll see, the approvals in the area, including next door, have an increased FSI of 0.79. Just down the block, there's a 0.85. And I could, you know, in round brackets, cherry pick, close round brackets, numbers throughout the neighborhood. But I would say you are seeing a general pattern of upper 70s, lower 80s for FSIs. So in terms of the amount of house relative to the lot, I think the number is consistent with what is occurring in the neighborhood. I would then just note, you know, it's a 2-story house. It's about just under 350 square meters. So it's a good sized house, but it's not a monstrous house that we sometimes see at the committee. As I noted before, it's by and large, at least for the 2-story portions, meeting the placement that the bylaw would contemplate. Where the confusion may lie, sir, is in the fact, as Ms. Valentini noted, there's some length and depth variances here that apply to the excavated below grade portion under the deck, which may appear to be bringing the massing closer to the rear property line when it isn't really. That's the below grade portions. So I think when you look at the space between the houses, both in terms of the side yards, it's generous, and the rear yard spacing, in particular to the 2-story portion of the house, is what is contemplated by the bylaw. So I think that relationship works too as well, sir.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Further questions of the applicant panel? Hearing none, then I would look to panel for a motion on the application, please. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Having looked at the application and reviewed all the materials, and the clarification with respect to the length variance, I think that what's being proposed, both individually and collectively, has been demonstrated through submissions that it's not uncharacteristic of the immediate, even properties on the same street. Therefore, I would be in support of the application, but I would like to ensure that it's tied to plans with respect to the length variance.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hayes to approve, tied to what then, Ms. Hayes?
Mr. Chair, there's also a forestry requirement, if I'm not mistaken, forestry number 2.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I don't see forestry for this one.
Okay.
Sorry, am I looking correctly at 23 Vesta? Oh, this is 508 Vesta, I beg your pardon, my mistake.
Very good. So no forestry applies, but Ms. Hayes, you'd like it
No.
tied? Oh, thank you. Ms. Hayes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find, maybe staff could indicate the appropriate drawing. I just want to make sure that we don't have any concerns with respect to the length being misconstrued. I guess
It can be the site plan.
The site plan drawing.
Okay. Okay.
That would be my motion.
There we are. So motion to
I'll
approve.
second that, Mr. Chair.
Seconded by Mr. Byatt. So motion put forward to approve, seconded by Mr.
Oh,
Byatt.
I'm sorry, I should say the amended application with the deletion of variance number 8.
Thank you. Very good point. Thank you. So there is a motion to approve based on the 7 variances that remain, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All those in favor, show of hands, please. And that motion is carried unanimously. The application is so approved. And panel moves on to number 6, 2148 Dundas. On number 6, we have applicant materials, a cover letter from the agent, presentation material from the agent, And there is correspondence from city planning and also from, well, actually, two elements of correspondence from city planning. And we have further supplementary correspondence from Jonathan Bourne, solicitor, representing the owners of 2102 Dundas, received July 6th. Okay then, Mr. Moderator, do we have with us speakers to speak on this one? We do. So there are speakers in opposition on this application. So I'll ask the agent to join us, stating your name as you do.
Good morning. My name is Mike Dror, spelled D-R-O-R, and I'm a land use planner in Bassfields, representing the applicant, which is Carnaby Dundas Limited. I had a presentation which I'm happy to walk you through. I'm not sure if it's in this package or not, but it was submitted by the due date.
You have
perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mike, you have 5 minutes to address the panel. Please carry on.
Thank you very much. So along this presentation, I just wanted to mention that I also provided a detailed planning rationale letter reviewing the site and surroundings, as well as the policy and regulatory context, and providing an analysis of the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I'd also note that we weren't aware of any opposition to the application. We received a correspondence from community planning and from SEPA, as well as from the nearby property owner. And we've also received some email correspondence from one of the neighbors to the immediate west of the site that has no objections, but we weren't aware of any opposition. So I'm happy to listen and answer any questions if there are any of me today relating to that. But we weren't aware of any to date, and the applicant has reached out to all of the immediate neighbors. I don't think he'd heard from all of them, but he had reached out to all of them. I'll just start by saying this development is just one small development, but it's exactly the type of development that we're looking to achieve in a city. General density intensification is kind of missing from our city, and absent of larger developments requiring land assemblies, there really aren't too many examples of these small projects along main streets that represent gentle growth and can be achieved by small-scale developers like Carnaby. If you go to the next slide, which is an area I'll just briefly say, this is an area that's has great access to transit, including the 505 streetcar, which runs by the subject site along Dundas. It's within walking distance of the Dundas West Station, as well as the UP Express and BLOOR GO station to the north. Next slide. The application or the site is located along the main street along Dundas, just to the east of Roncesvalles. And it's in an area that is characterized by 2 to 5 story buildings along Dundas generally, with some taller buildings to the south up to around 8 stories. If you go to the next slide, this is the site plan for the proposed building. The building would be retaining the existing front yard setback of 0.89 meters and retain the existing side yard setbacks of 0 meters, and actually be retaining those side walls. And then build up from 2 to 4 stories, and then to the rear, expanding or reducing the rear yard setback down to 10.49 meters from the opposite side of the lane, while still being well in excess of the required rear yard setback, which is only 7.5 meters from the north side of the lane. That expanded rear yard setback would allow for the development to provide the required 3 parking spaces, as well as 12 bicycle parking spaces, meeting the requirements for both. And then going to the next slide, it's the ground floor plan, just showing how the development will work. There'll be an access point from Dundas on the left of the page, and then 3 units per floor with an elevator and stairs internally providing access to the upper floors. If you go to the next slide. The site is zoned CR, commercial, residential, with a maximum density of 3 and a maximum height of 13 meters, and permits apartment buildings. Going to the next slide. The variances being requested, there's really 2 of them. There are 3, but 2 of them are identical from the 2 applicable bylaws. The first two really are a request to increase the permitted height from 13 meters up to 13.72 meters. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see what that looks like. This is the front elevation, the Dundas elevation of the building, and it would have a height of 13.72 meters, which is slightly greater than what you see in yellow, which is the 13.0 meter permission of the bylaw. However, the Dundas-Roncesvalles urban design guidelines do permit encourage a height of up to 20 meters in what's called Area A, in this area of the Dundas-Roncesvalles area. And the height of 13.72 meters is nowhere near the 20 meter maximum encouraged by the guidelines. As well, there's a permission in the guidelines for 5-meter mechanical penthouse on top of that. And the proposed mechanical, which is a little bit faint in that picture, but it's about 2 meters in height. Again, it would be nowhere near the permission for 25 meters, that would be encouraged by the guidelines. If you go to the next slide, you can see the other variance being requested, and that is for relief from the rear angular plane. The proposal would meet the front angular plane requirement, but would require relief from the rear angular plane as the building penetrates it by about 2.9 meters, or exactly 2.9 meters, I should say. What's important to note is that the lot depth is 33.54 meters, which is just slightly greater than 32.6.
I'll ask you to make,
yeah.
Mike, I'll ask you to make your final comment now, please.
Sure, and I'll just say that if it were considered to be a shallow lot, which it almost is, then it would meet that angular plane. And in addition, that angular plane that is contemplated by a shallow lot is also the one that is encouraged by the Dundas-Roncesvalles guidelines for the site. There's no differentiation between shallow and deep lot in those guidelines.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you very much.
And we'll go now to the first registered speaker.
Oh, it's me.
Speaker, as you join us, just state your name, please.
It's Nick Scally. I'm just here for interest.
Do you have anything you want the panel to hear while you're with us, Nick?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wonder, is Frank Scally there with you? And if so, does Frank have anything he wishes to say? He's also registered to speak.
I'm also here out of interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. Okay, then, so there is no, there are no speakers who are going to speak. We go back now then, panel questions for the agent, Mike Dror. Go ahead, Ms. Valentini.
Thank you. I was actually interested in what you were saying about the angular plane. So in your presentation materials, there is a drawing, and as I just want to make sure I understand it correctly. I know this lot measures as I think you called it a deep lot, but if it was a shallow lot, it's close to being a shallow lot. And the drawing that's up on the screen, is that what it would be in terms of penetration of the angular plane if it was classified as a shallow lot? Have I understood that correctly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the clarifying question. I ran out of time there, but exactly, you're exactly right. The angular plane in black, which is part of the original drawing, is what is required by the bylaw. So essentially, it's being measured at the rear yard setback line, so 7.5 from the opposite side of the lane, at a height of 7.5. However, if it was considered a shallow lot, it would be measured at a height of 10.5 from the same location. And it's almost considered a shallow. It's pretty close to being one. But the other thing to note is that if we're applying the urban design guidelines, there's no differentiation in the guidelines between a shallow and deep lot. The only angular plane that would apply would be the shallow lot angular plane. And I think the intention is in recognition that these lots are generally shallow anyway, and are pretty close to shallow lot, and that the applicable angular plane should be the one for a shallow lot, which is measured again at 10.5 rather than at 7.5 meters above the rear setback line.
Okay, that helps. Thank you. That's how I understood it. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel, any other questions for Mr. Drawer? Hearing none, then we can take the application into committee for a motion, please. Go ahead, Mr. Byatt.
We're not able to hear you. I think you're muted.
I beg your pardon. I'd be very happy to move approval of this motion. I think it meets all the requirements necessary. So without any other conditions, I don't believe there are any conditions attached. I'd be very happy to move the motion.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Byatt. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Hayes. All those in favor, show of hands, please. The vote is unanimous. The motion is carried and the application is approved. At this point, I'm going to recess the committee for a period of just 10 minutes. We've still got lots to do, but we'll just take a 10-minute refresher recess at this point and resume at 25 minutes to 12. Thank you. Okay, panel, we resume now. We're now having consideration for item number 7, which is 68 Walker Avenue. And on this application, the committee has before it applicant's materials as submitted, plus there are commenting reports from Urban Forestry. One received June 21, another received June 30th. So, I will ask the agent to join us, stating your name, please, as you do.
Good morning, committee. Robin Heater from Robin Heater Architect, representative of the owner.
Thank you, Robin. Good morning. I'm going to check with fellow panel members to see if they would like a presentation. Panel members? No. No presentation requested. Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, I'll ask if anyone is prepared to go forward with a motion, please. Ms. Valentini.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared. This is a very straightforward application in my view, replacing an existing one-story addition with a new one, and I've noted that the existing length is already over at 19.77. So we've got a depth variance here. This is going to be incrementally larger than what's existing, so in my view, there'll be no impact, in my view, from this one-story addition. On that basis, I'm prepared to bring a motion forward for approval. I think it meets the 4 tests, and it would be subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Seconded by Ms. Hayes. So there is a motion, seconded, to approve, subject to forestry. All those in favor, show of hands, please. Thank you. The motion is carried and the application is so approved. The panel moves right along to item number 8. 81 GRASSI Street. On this application, panel has before it agents or the applicant's materials. There's a cover letter from the agent, Sean Galbraith. There are a total of 14 form letters in support by the owner occupants of 66, 72, 73, 75, 76, 77, 79, 82, 85, 88, and 88 and a half GRASSI. Also from 87 GRASSI and 32 Wardell, and from 80 GRASSI. So, on that, I will ask the agent to join us, please, stating your name as you do.
Good morning, my name is Sean Galbraith. I'm a planner here for the application.
Thank you very much. Okay, panel, there's no one registered to speak on this application in opposition. So I wonder if you require a presentation, or if you'd like to go with any questions to the applicant. Please go ahead with your questions. Okay. There don't appear to be any questions, so I'll look to panel for a motion, please. Ms. Hayes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, having reviewed all the materials on file, I believe that the variances as being applied for are appropriate, meet the character of the neighborhood, and meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. There is tremendous support for them, and I don't think what's being proposed is out of character, and I would move to approve the application. No conditions.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Byatt. So, we have a motion, seconded, to approve without condition. All those in favor, show of hands. That motion is carried. The application is approved. Thank you. And panel moves along to item number 9. 60 Tyndall Avenue. On this application, the panel is dealing simply with the materials submitted by the applicant. So I'll ask the agent to join us, please, and state your name as you do join us.
Hello there. My name is Andy Burhill from AVA Design Studio. I'm the agent for the applicant. The applicant is Metcalf Properties.
Very good. Good morning, Andy. I'm going
Good
to check.
morning.
Good morning. I'll just check now with panel members. Panel members, presentation required. Questions for the applicant? In that case, I'll look to panel for a
No, I
motion.
don't.
Go ahead, sorry. I'll look
I was going to say I don't have any questions. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to respond, but I'm happy to bring a motion forward. This is a very straightforward application. They're adding one extra unit, and they're asking for a variance for 1 parking space. I don't feel there'd be any impact. This is a large building to begin with, and I think the addition of 1 unit without the parking, in my view, meets the 4 tests. So I'm happy to bring a motion forward for approval of the application without
Thank
any
you.
conditions.
Seconded by Mr. Byatt. So we do have a motion, seconded, to approve. Panel members, all those in favor, show of hands, please. Thank you. The motion is carried. The application is approved. Panel moves on to number 10, 607 Jane Street. And on 607 Jane, we have applicant's materials. There is a survey report from Craig Arriger's consultant. And we have a commenting report from Engineering and Construction Services. On this application, I shall ask the agent to join us now, please, stating your name.
Mr. Chairman, panel members, my name is Dave Peterson. I'm a co-founder and principal at City STEM, working on behalf of the owner, Tapera Cleveland.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Just check with panel members. Panel members, presentation requested, questions for the applicant. Hearing none. I look for panel member to move forward with a motion, please. Ms. Hayes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, having reviewed the materials and the comments from Development Engineering, Development Engineering did have an outstanding clarification it was requiring with respect to the access route, but the conditions that they are asking to be attached to any approval would require the satisfaction of that outstanding question. Having said that, I think that what's being proposed and the variance being requested is appropriate, not out of character, and I would move to approve the application subject to the conditions for approval outlined by development engineering.
Seconded by Mr. Byatt. So a motion to approve, subject to engineering, is put forward and seconded. Panel members, all those in favor, show of hands, please. And that is a unanimous vote carrying the motion, and that application is approved. We move along to item number 11. Item number 11, 14 Fern Avenue. Here, once again, panel members are dealing simply with the materials submitted by the applicant. And I'll ask the agent to join us, stating your name, please.
A very good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Nelson here as the agent for this application.
Thank you. Nelson Espinola, thank you very much.
That's correct.
Very good. Panel members, any requests for presentation, or do you have questions to put to the applicant? I'll just put one question to you that occurred to me, Mr. Espinola. Your height variance at 9.8, where 7.5 is the requirement by the bylaw, seems like a fairly significant request. Could you describe why you need that relief from the bylaw, please?
Mr. Chairman, that height variance, it's only in regards to the third floor. We're bringing changing the roof slightly, bring it back about 6 feet or so. But we're not over the overall height of the existing dwelling. It's just that we could have a functional third floor space, because as it is right now, with the roof sloping the way it's there, the space is not functional, and this is the reason why we require this height variance.
Okay, and could I see the side elevation, please? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Panel members, any further questions for the applicant? If there are none, does anyone wish to move to a motion? Mr. Byatt.
Mr. Chair, pardon me. I think this application is fairly straightforward, meets all the requirements. There's nothing that I can see amiss with it, so I'd like to move acceptance of and approval of this motion. Of this application, I beg your pardon.
Thank you very much. That's seconded by Ms. Hayes. So a motion to approve is seconded. Panel members, all those in favor, show of hands. Once again, a unanimous vote to carry the motion, and the application is approved. Panel moves on to number 12, 82 Dixon Avenue. 82 Dixon, we are considering the applicant's materials as submitted. We also have a staff report from Community Planning, dated 29 June. And on this application, I'll now ask the agent to join us, stating your name.
Hello everyone, my name is Nikita Matsarski. If you have questions, just ask.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Panel members, there's your invitation. Do you have any questions for the applicant? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
I do. Yeah, I noticed in our materials that the application has been amended in terms of the purpose to remove the reference to the front dormer. And I don't think I see front dormer in the plans. Can you just clarify, is there a front dormer? And because the planning report refers to tying it to plans in terms of, and there's a height variance, front wall height variance. So can you just, because the planning report ties it to limiting the dormers, the height to the front and rear dormer. So can you explain? Is there
Yeah,
a front
sure.
dormer?
We only have a rear dormer. We do not have a front dormer because I believe the neighbor didn't like it or something, and that's why we removed it. And yeah, there was an amendment, and I just believe that, I don't know, there was a mistake, and that's why they put a front dormer there. There is only a rear dormer.
Thank you. That's what I thought. That's how I read the plans. So do you need the variance for the front wall height then, I guess? Do you still need that?
Yeah, we do need that.
Just for the...
And that's only rear. We only have two requests. The first one is the overall height. The requirement is 10 meters, and we're proposing 10.34 meters. But the existing roof is the same height, so I believe that is not a problem. And talking about the walls, the permitted height for them is 7.5 meters, but because we have a dormer, we have the same 10.14 meters, and that's only in the rear.
So that's why I was confused, because the variances ask for a front, variance 2 is height of the front exterior main walls. So is it supposed to be a rear wall variance?
Yeah.
That's not what the application says, so I'm not sure how to deal with that, but your variance here is for front exterior main wall height. If you look at the notice.
Yeah, I know, that's, I was very confused too. I believe there was just a mistake when we did the application or something. There is only the rear dormer and the rear wall.
Okay.
Can you bring up that there was a mistake? Because this could affect your application. You can't just let it go.
We like emailed the people who reviewed the application, and they're aware of it, and they said that there's going to be an amendment or something. And that the application...
Can I just jump in? I think that's an existing condition, right? But the examiner still have to flag it, because even if it's an existing condition, they will still have to put it down in the notice. Basically, what happened is you didn't change. You just show what it is what is existing to the examiner, and this is the notice you got back, even though the scope of work is only at the back.
Yes, it's only at the back.
Okay.
Okay, now if I'm understanding correctly, then the purpose of the application has been changed. If you notice that panel, the words front and have been eliminated. So the purpose of the application reads rear third-story dormer. But certainly...
Yeah, and we submitted the drawings only with the rear dormer. There is no front dormer on the drawing.
But what I'm noticing though is that variance number 2 refers to front.
Oh, I see.
Maximum permitted height of all front main. Oh no, that's front main walls. So, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are any of the variances now? Is there any issue with any of the wording in the actual 3 variances that panel should be concerned about?
I think there is an issue with variance number 2. I'm looking at the zoning review, and it says the maximum permitted height of all front exterior main walls is 7.5 meters. And then they go on to say the proposed height of the front exterior main walls for the new 3rd floor rear dormer is 10.14. So I don't know if they quoted the wrong section or if it actually refers to the front. Perhaps we can hold this application and give the applicant an opportunity to try to reach out to Toronto Building, because if it really should be a rear wall variance, then we have to re-notify, because it would be a different section.
Okay.
So, I just have something to speak to the applicant. If you look at your drawing A-11.0,
Sorry, can you...
This is how you confuse the example. So scroll down. Yeah, sorry. A-1, the front elevation, basically.
So like, yeah, we have the elevations and only the rear dormer shown on the elevation, if that's what you're asking. I didn't really hear you cut off.
Right, so I was saying that it will be easier if you just put this front elevation proposed and your front elevation existing. Just put it side by side and just put a word say nothing changed so that you don't confuse the examiner. You see what I'm saying? Because if the examiner just flip to this page and you will just look at the height, proposed, okay, so is everything on this drawing being proposed?
Mr.
That's
Cheng,
where the confusion is coming.
Mr. Cheng, just so you're aware,
Yes.
Mr. Cheng, I am finding your transmission is getting a bit on and off. So please, if you would, speak more slowly because you are
Okay,
in
sorry.
and out. You're in and out right now. So go ahead and let us know what you have to say, but speak more slowly.
Okay, I was saying to the applicant that it might be easier for him to communicate with the examiner when you have this opportunity.
Okay,
To put this front elevation proposed and the existing on the same page. And just put a note on saying that nothing changed.
Okay, so
Because the way you
Actually,
present it,
the skylights are new, so that's why. The
the
difference.
way you just circle it because if the examiner just looking at the front elevation proposed, then he probably would assume that everything here is new. I mean, there's a miscommunication here between you and the examiner. And I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that if you want to make it faster and make the communication easier, you might just present the drawing different.
Let me put a question to Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer. You were saying to put this on hold until the applicant. Do you mean putting it on
I
hold?
don't know if they'll be able to reach the zoning examiner today, but
Right.
at least if they can try to resolve it, because I'd hate for them to proceed and then have a decision that they can't use because it should have been a rear wall height.
I do understand. Okay, then, that's probably, we can see how that goes and whether the applicant is able to connect with the zoning examiner. So we can put it on hold for now and keep on going through our applications. And I'll ask the moderator to check back periodically with the applicant to see if he's had success in that, because there is an issue there that really makes it difficult for us to put forward a motion on this. So applicant, that's our request to you, is please try to connect with the zoning examiner in this regard.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. With that, so that one goes on hold. Number 12 is on hold. Panel moves along to number 13. And number 13 is '54 Bartlett Avenue. On this application, the panel has before it applicant's materials, correspondence from the agent from February 3rd. We have commenting reports from city planning. We have staff reports from community planning and engineering and construction services. There is correspondence in support from 56 Bartlett Avenue, Dahlia Ferrari. There is correspondence in opposition from 54 Bartlett Avenue, Angela Harvey and Alan Zapolnik. And moderator, do we have a speaker standing by in opposition? We do, okay. Okay, in that case, I'll ask the agent to join us now, stating your name, please.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman and all members of committee. My name is Andrew Golovny. I'm applicant and designer of this land house.
Very good. Good morning. And you'll now have 5 minutes to present your presentation to the panel. Please carry on now.
Yeah, sure. So like I'll go over main details and the owner thoughts of this development. The development is for their family, so they plan to build it for their daughter, and they have agreement with the city for not severing the property for 20 years. So yeah, we did our best to satisfy neighborhood aesthetics. We work with sorry. You work with neighbors to make sure that most of community members support the proposed design, and as you see we got 8 letters in support. Also we have worked with planning department to satisfy the city development plan and influence it with a positive impact. Right now if you can go to page A3.1, so yeah. So at this elevation, we can see this setbacks from existing building. Item number 1 and 2, they related to each other. So the zoning bylaw allow us to have height of 6 meters if we have distance 7.5 meters distance from existing dwelling to lane house. So I have read the neighbor's objection about height. At this point we allow to have 6 meters, but we have 4 meters maximum height because the distance between houses is 6.5 meters, not 7.5. So that is only affect rear yard. It's not affecting neighbor side. So item number 3. Item number 3 is related to front wall. This elevation, we can see if we would have distance 5 meters, and could you share screen, please? The same elevation, A31. Okay, yeah, thank you. So on this elevation, I wanted to show how it affects these different setbacks from the dwelling. We have 7.5 by law, and in our case it's 6.5. So at this point you can see clearly what we asking and what is the deficiency in respect to zoning by law. Item number 4 is related to landscaping. So at this point, as we have a parking space, we won't be able to provide any landscaping. So I think it's minor in my opinion. And item number 5 and 6 is related to parking size. So we work with engineering department to show vehicle maneuvering diagrams, and that illustrated there. Also, we have to relocate the door based on this engineering request because no, actually to avoid a blocking of the door by a car. So it's I would say a main point that I wanted to cover. And if you have any questions, please ask me. I will try to clarify it.
Thank you very much. Oh, Ms. Valentini?
I have questions about the side elevation that was just put up in terms of the angular plane measurement. I found that to be a little confusing, but I don't know if we can put it back up, please, the south elevation. But in terms of this variance you're requesting, the one that shows the 7.5 setback is the variance required in terms of penetration of the angular plane. Is that correct?
Sorry, it was like you're breaking down, like I missed the last couple of
Oh,
words.
sorry. Okay. So if we look at this elevation, like one of my concerns is the angular plane and how much the building penetrates the angular plane. The bylaw requires it to be 7.5 meters from the rear wall, and then you measure it from there. So out of these three measurements, the one that shows 7.5, is that the requirement in terms of yes, thank you for highlighting that. Is that how much of the building penetrates the angular plane if we look at the bottom, the 7.5 setback?
Yes, ma'am, it's correct, yes. So like it's,
Okay.
dimensions like you're providing.
So what are the other two measurements for, just to show if it was
yeah,
measured
so-
differently? Because they're not really relevant in terms of the variance then, is that right?
Correct. So I just like you wanted to show that what we got like in our case, like we have setback 6.5, and if zoning bylaw also allow us like to have setback 5 meters, but in that case like the house, the lane house
Has to
like
be-
to be 4 meters.
Yes, so, okay, but, so,
Okay.
the real penetration of the angular plane is the one that's highlighted in blue on the screen right now, that shows 7.5 meters from the rear wall, correct?
Yes. Correct. Yep.
Okay, and then, in terms of the parking, it's not within the laneway house, it's outside of it, as shown on the site plan, I guess. Is it beside it? I was confused by that too.
No, so like it's yeah, the parking like that we provided, it's because like as you saw like from elevation, it's overhand. Second floor is overhand, but we got a little bit smaller than requested by zoning bylaw parking space, but we have parking space on our lot.
Okay, but in terms of how the orientation of the parking space is going to be, it's not gonna completely tuck underneath the overhang, is that right? It's gonna sort of,
Yeah, it's gonna be like, yeah, let's say like half of the car are gonna be under open space and half of the car are gonna be under the overhang of second floor.
oh, I see, so it's gonna be parking, okay, sorry, I just wanna look at the map.
Yeah.
It's gonna be parking parallel to the house then, or to the laneway suite,
Correct. And
rather than
you-
perpendicular, and is that accessible, because it's given the lane? You can pull in like that?
Yes, ma'am. As was requested by engineering department to provide maneuvering diagrams, so like we have submitted it, but they didn't comment on it. But we have submitted and show that a small car will be able to park there. So like a smart car or a Mini or Nissan Micra.
Yeah, but how do you access it? Do you have to cross over the neighbor's property to pull in? Is that what you're?
No. So like if we're going, like yeah, we use like yeah lane space. If we're not using like other properties.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. I've never seen this parking space next to a laneway that is, you know, parallel to the laneway. Usually you pull in and you're perpendicular, but maybe I'm missing something. So thank you.
Okay, let's
Oh,
now.
there it is.
Well, thank you for sharing Google Map. Yeah,
Okay.
so like it's yeah, right now like it's much clear. We have space like if we're gonna park like from this garage, like this is gonna be parallel to this garage and back way, so like you'll be able to park at our property.
So which property are you then? Now I'm confused as to which one you are. Are you the one in the center that has the fence?
Yeah, where we have the fence. Yeah, it's this property. Yeah.
So in order to
Okay.
access that, you've got to
It's an
maneuver in.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, like and how it works right now, like with the owner, they turn around and then like park like backward. So and like it's how it's gonna work and.
Wow, that's okay. And what is that building right there at the very end, next to the end of the laneway? Not the garage, that gray building. Yeah.
Yeah, so like yes, the gray building like is like a livable residential like residential residence. So
It's not like a laneway suite or something like that. That's like a house on.
no, it's not accessible from the lane. So like it's a dead end.
Okay, thank you.
It's a multiple unit set of recent build townhouses, something like that. Let's go now to the opposition speaker who is standing by, and I'll ask that opposition speaker to join us now, stating your name, please.
Hi there, it's Angela Harvey, and I'm the homeowner at 589 Gladstone. Just a point of clarity from my earlier introduction.
So, your property is where with respect to the subject property?
Directly to the rear. So when we were looking at the laneway there, my property is the home that has the fence, the gate.
Let's go back to that
So-
drawing, please. Let's go back to that photograph of the end of the laneway. There we go.
Yep. So you can see on the left-hand side, that is the gate that slides across to our parking. And just while we're on the subject of parking, I guess one of the things that we should talk about is with respect to the engineering report on how to access the parking that they're proposing. It is through the egress, which is to the left of this garage that you see here. That egress is also required for our property to be able to swing round into our parking. So if they were to intrude at all from the parallel parking space into the egress, that will make it very difficult for us to maneuver into our parking. But I'm here, frankly, just to raise concerns about the high density proposal that's before you. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-story laneway home that's being proposed, which if you see across the lane, most of the homes there are 2-story themselves. So this is providing high density, it's a high density proposal that will be in keeping with those residences that are immediately across. And we do have concerns because, of course, this is setting precedents for this laneway. There is no laneway housing as yet in this particular lane. So we have concerns about height, what that will do to our sight line. As you can see, this condo building has created something of a monolith in our sight line, and essentially what we're talking about now is extending that further across the laneway, which is a challenge. And the earlier stated concerns about parking and just what it might mean to the egress here and our access to the yard.
Thank you very much. Questions, panel, for this speaker? Okay, thank you very much, Speaker. Your concerns then would be the height and the overall proposed density, and of course concern about possible constriction of maneuvering for parking in what is obviously a bit of a tricky parking situation. Thank you. Let's go back now then to the agent. And agent, I'll ask you to speak to those issues, please. The height?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
First item, I would like to cover the height. So in our case, if you would have a distance between lane house and dwelling 7.5 meters, it would allow us to have the height of lane house 6 meters. And as we asking 6 meters 38, in that case, in my belief, I think it's not very critical at this point and shouldn't affect in negative way the neighbors. And also I wanted to make another comment about a distance to this neighbor lot. So the distance is 9.1 meters from our lane to their properties. So I don't think it is gonna, because as you see, it's dead end, and we have these townhouses are much higher, right? And then they create much more shadow and other inconveniences at our lane house. So And about like maneuvering, as was like you mentioned, like we have submitted drawings to engineering department to review maneuvering diagrams that was confirmed by professional engineer. So that parking like here shouldn't be an issue. So like we're not gonna block like any neighbors, or we're not gonna stay like on the line property. We're gonna be able to park like on our side.
Thank you very much, Agent. Okay then, if there are any further questions for the agent panel, now's the time. If there are none, we'll take this application into panel for panel discussion. And go ahead, Mr. Chang.
I just want to start by saying that I'm not very convinced about the parking solution. Basically, I don't know if it's possible to limit the size of the car to just the 5 vehicles that you mentioned. It will create a lot of conflicts, and as long as you park a wider car over there, you're extruding to the laneway, and you're blocking many other people, especially you're asking for 2 parkings in that spot. I really don't know anyone can just grab a car that way. So the parking solution is, I can't accept that.
Thank you very much. Now, for further comment, please, on this application. Ms. Valentini? Oh, sorry.
I won't wait in. Parking is something that I also have a concern about. And that being said, I also have concerns about the penetration of the angular plane in this case. I think that this is, to me, putting a lot on a site, a small site. I mean, there is a 2-story addition. And we've seen, you know, variances for, you know, setback from reducing the setback, but I think reduce from the main wall of the property. But I think that in combination with the height variance and the penetration of the angular plane, I feel that this is going to be a large structure for that site. And I think that speaks to the fact that the parking you know, is also being restricted. So I think this is too much for the site myself.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hayes?
I would agree with the comments from my colleagues. I think it's just too much for the site. The undersized parking and where the site is, the trying to have an undersized parking lot, but then also not being able to have any landscape space at the rear, the reduction in the distance between the main residence and the other, the size of the structure, therefore penetrating the angular plane. I think that it is too large a development for the characteristics of the site and the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Mr. Byatt, any comment? Okay, I too thought that with respect to the bylaws that govern laneway suites, that this application was really asking too much in terms of variance from that bylaw. There is a large 2-story addition, which means that the laneway suite, which is going to be considerably higher than the laneway suite bylaw permits, is going to be very close to the main house. The fact that there's zero soft landscaping is a concern to me. I think we have to think more and more about each lot doing its fair share of absorbing stormwater runoff. That's got to happen. The angular plane issue, the difficulties that we can all anticipate regarding parking, all of those things lead me to not think in favor of this application. I want to ask the Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I have a note here about a refund request. Is there a formal refund request in any way associated with this application the committee has to deal with?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So the applicant did have a previous application in 2020. I've read the minutes, and there was a deferral request by the applicant. The committee refused the deferral request. So subsequently, the applicant asked to withdraw the file and close it. So that file was dealt with. They're asking now to have this be refunded, but in my opinion, I wouldn't say they're entitled to it because it's a new application. They chose to close the previous file, but that would be up to the committee to decide when making their motion.
Oh, okay, then Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, my thought would be for the committee to deal first with the current application before us based on its merits, and having dealt with that by way of a motion and a vote, to then come right after that, we'll deal with the refund request that relates to the original application.
That sounds good.
Fine. Okay, then, good. Okay, then, at this point, then, I think we've all weighed in on our thoughts about the application. I would look to panel for a motion, please. Ms. Valentini?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to bring a motion forward for refusal of the application. I did state my reasons prior. In my view, just to meet the 4 tests, I think this is overdevelopment on the site, and I think that the variances requested are not minor.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? There is. Ms. Hayes seconds the motion. All those in favor, show of hands, please. And the vote is unanimous to refuse the application. The vote is unanimous to carry the motion to refuse the application. Now, I'll now open a discussion with panel members with respect to the request for refund on the previous application. And this is a request made by the applicant. So, we could refuse, we could refund the full amount, we could refund a partial amount. My own personal thought would be that city staff had done the work that's required to process, distribute, and so on, that original application. So if the applicant chose to...
The request is for this file, not for the previous one.
Oh, the request is for this file.
Yeah, in this letter, I would like to ask you to kindly accept the new application without any charges, or at least accept the partial payment established on your moral judgment.
Thank you very much for clarifying that, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer. So there's the request panel. We're being asked to consider that, whether or not to grant. Go ahead, Ms. Hayes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. My thought would be to not grant the request for either a full or partial refund on the current application. As the Deputy Secretary Treasurer said, and as the information had submitted, the previous application was withdrawn. I don't think that it's appropriate for the committee to intervene in the application of the consistent application of a fee structure that's been established by the city. The application was withdrawn. This is a new application, and I would not support a refund.
Thank you. Other comments on that panel? Mr. Byett?
I would just like to support Ms. Hayes. I think an application is an application. The applicant expects to either have an approval or a refusal. And I think in this particular instance is a refusal. It's done.
Very good. Would anyone care to make a motion on the request to refund? Mr. Byett? Go ahead.
I would move that we refuse the request for a refund.
Is there a
with
second?
regard to this application.
Thank you. Second to that motion. There is. Ms. Hayes? It is moved to refuse the request for refund and seconded. All those in favor, show of hands, please. And that motion is carried unanimously. The request for a refund is thereby refused. And with that, panel moves on to item number 14. Item number 14, 265 Jane Street. Here we're dealing with applicant's materials, cover letter from the agent. We have comment report from Transportation Services. And we have correspondence in support, a total of 5 form letters received from 280, 282, 287, 289, Jane Street, and then another from 282 Jane Street on the 14th of June, separate from the one on the 17th. So, there we go. And on this application, Mr. Moderator, do we have a person standing by to speak?
We have the applicant, however, the second speaker, Nassim and Tariq Rangwala, are not, they were on the line, but they are not on the line any longer. I'm trying to reach them now.
Okay, thank you. If you do get a hold of them, let me know, because they weren't necessarily speaking in opposition, they were speaking in support, interest, or opposition. We're not sure where. So they just, all right. Okay, then if you do get a hold of that person, please advise me. Otherwise, I'll ask the agent to join us now, stating your name, please. Agent, I heard of your voice, but it was very, very faint. Try again, joining us, stating your name, please.
Hi, Mary. If you can speak into your mic more clearly or increase your mic volume so we can hear you.
Okay, how does it sound now?
Much better. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mary Ellen Lynch, and I'm with Lynch and Comiso Architects, and I'm the agent for the owner.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Oh, go ahead.
Mary, well, I'm going to check with panel members to see if they do want a presentation. And let's just do that first. Presentation requested, panel? No. Mary, is there anything you want to say to the panel?
I think it's clearly outlined in my letter, but I'm happy to answer any further questions if they have.
Let's see if there are some.
I do have one question. You mentioned that there was a notice from Transportation, which I had not seen. I checked the file yesterday, and I didn't see that. So
Okay.
I just tried to log in right now, and I couldn't get to it. So.
Okay, there was correspondence from Transportation Services on the 23rd. That goes way back 23 March.
Oh.
It's basically an email that says no comment.
Okay, okay, great. Yes, I have seen that then. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Let me just check one final time with the moderator. Do we have that person?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we just received email correspondence saying that they do not wish to speak and they don't have any objections.
Thank you very much. So there is no one speaking in opposition. Panel, any questions you have for the agent? Now's your opportunity. No? Okay then. Not requiring a presentation. Oh, Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
I don't have any questions, but I'd be prepared to start the discussion. I think many of the variances that are part of this application actually represent existing conditions. This has been from the submissions as part of the package, this is a long-standing commercial space, a dental office. I think it's just expanding the space. I don't think there's any greater impacts. The parking situation is no different than currently exists. I don't think a second-story structure in this location is out of character with what's in the neighborhood, and I would be prepared to support the application, and that would be my motion if my colleagues have no further comment.
There's a
I
motion.
don't have any further comments.
Could I have a second for the motion then? Is there seconded by Ms. Valentini? Motion before the panel, seconded to approve. All those in favor, show of hands. And the motion is carried by unanimous vote, and the application is approved. And the panel moves along to item number 15. And on this application number 15, before us we have applicant materials, applicant's cover letter, a previous Committee of Adjustment decision from 2019. There's correspondence from City Planning. There's correspondence in interest or concern from 95 Lavinia, Swansea area ratepayers, and there is opposition correspondence from 14 Mossam Road, Angela McMonigal. So, moderator, just to check, we just have here the owner and we have the agent, right? Okay, so there was no one speaking in opposition this time. Well, I should also mention there was recent correspondence in opposition, the second piece of correspondence in opposition received on July the 6th from Eldon Theodore. Pardon me, that's presentation materials. Am I right on this, or am I getting it wrong? Okay, yes, and presentation materials regarding 2487 Bloor West. Okay, very good. Okay then, I shall ask the agent to join us, stating your name.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mary Systremski. I'm here from MHPC Planning. We're the planners retained by the registered owners for the application. Alongside me as well, we have Ms. Jen McCain, who's the owner of Doctopia.
Thank you very much. Panel members, on this application, presentation required, questions for the applicant? Ms. Hayes? Go ahead, Ms. Hayes.
I just have one question. I'd like to hear the response with respect to the concerns about the drop-offs and pickups and, to say it kindly, the use of the side street for pets to do their business. I just wondered if you could respond to what the comments that have been made there, and how you would be controlling some of that activity, if that's possible. Please,
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course. So in response to that letter, these are basically the same concerns that were raised at the last hearing, and at that hearing, our client extended open communication to area neighbors if any issues arose so they can be resolved. The neighbor did not communicate to our client, therefore we could not address the issues as we didn't know them. The pickups and the drop-offs taking place are short-term. People just literally park, drop off their dogs, or pick them up and take off. We understand from the owner that there's been no infractions to date as well. Further, the application's been reviewed by the city departments, including transportation, and there's been no comments provided. And then city planning as well indicated they have no comments or concerns on this. In terms of dogs relieving themselves as well, it's not clear whether or not they were referring to dogs relieving themselves on the public right-of-way or on private property.
Thank you.
Panel, further questions? Mr. Byatt.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any comments, but sorry, no questions, but certainly comments. we do have a very large number of folks who now have dogs as pets. Having a kennel seems to be an appropriate kind of service necessary for pet owners and dog owners. I think pet owners and dog owners in particular are very well aware that they need to clean up after their pets. So I personally don't see a long-term issue. I'm sure the people in general are very responsible, so I'd be in support of this application.
Do you care to make a motion?
I certainly would. I'd like to move acceptance approval of this this application.
Thank you very much. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Hayes. So it is moved and seconded to approve the application. All those in favor, please, show of hands. Thank you. The motion is carried by unanimous vote and the application is approved. The panel moves along to 508 Vesta Drive, item number 16. And here we have applicant's materials. We have presentation materials from the agent. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry. And there is a recent correspondence in opposition from Gary Geller at 510 Vesta, received just yesterday, July the 6th. So, on this application, moderator, we just had the agent, correct? Okay, then I'll ask the agent to join us, please, stating your name.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair. It's David Bronskill. I hope I'm coming through okay for you.
Very clearly. Thank you, David. Panel members, presentation required. Questions for the applicant?
I'd like to ask a question, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask, the question is basically relating to the depth variance again. I understand a lot of it is below grade. It looks like there's a very large below grade basement with underground parking, etc. The above grade portion, looking for the depth of that. I made a note of what I thought it was, 21.39 meters, but I don't know, Mr. Bronskill, can you help me confirm whether that's the case?
Yes, I can, and I have better numbers for you than I did this morning. You are right. The 36.3 meters is in the basement below grade, which won't have an impact. There are two numbers I should give you for above grade, just so I'm fair and full disclosure. There's a number of 21.39 meters, which comes along one side of the development. And then there's a number of 24.59 meters because the house sort of has a stagger because it's got an angled rear lot line with a ones to the back of the one-story portion. So there's actually those two numbers that are relevant to understanding the above grade depth of the dwelling. So on the ground floor, there's 21.39 for a portion and 24.59 on the corresponding or north wall. When you get up to the second floor, it's all 21.39 meters. So that 24.59 includes the breakfast area out the back, or breakfast nook, or whatever you call it, on the first floor. And then by the time you get to the third floor, it's actually approximately 17.05 meters. There's a few little projections there. So within that attic space and the slope roof, they're using some of that area for bedrooms, and it's only 17 meters in that upper level portion.
Okay, that helps.
And I can add just for the committee, just while I'm there on that upper level, that upper level or attic space, it's always one of these very interesting things I find with these houses. They've used only that portion of the attic, so and that accounts for 15.39 of the FSI. So the first 2 floors are actually 75.71 FSI. If we didn't include those 2 bedrooms that are basically in half of the 3rd floor, the overall form of the house wouldn't change. So it's a bit of a strange mathematical exercise. As before, and again, I'm not giving you these numbers to say, numbers were granted before, and so therefore we should get the same numbers. But we did attempt again to provide you with the range of quantitative numbers. And you can see that there's a range into the 70s, into the upper 80s, and into the low 90s as high as 93% or FSI. So we think we fall within the range. We think the qualitative here is more important, because if that was just attic space and the number was 75.71%, the built form wouldn't change very much. And the last thing I'll just say to you, it's notable, I think, when you look at, for example, the west elevation, what the architect has done, and I commend her for this, is basically stepped back the building. So there's a first story, there's a 1-story portion that's sloped at the rear, then there's a 2, and then it's stepped to the 3. And so I just don't want to leave the committee with the impression that it's a big 3-story mass. We have tried to contact the neighbor, and we'll attempt to continue to do that once we saw the letter, to continue discussions so that we can make sure the neighbor understands it's not a 3-story wall right next to his property. In fact, it's stepped through a variety of levels so that we think he'll continue to have good access to light and certainly to sunlight with minimized shadow impacts. So I just wanted to add that while I was here for the committee's benefit.
Okay, panel. Thanks, Mr. Byatt. There don't appear to be any more questions. Let's move then into committee and to a motion. If anyone's ready for a motion, go ahead. Mr. Byatt.
I'll start this one off, Mr. Chair. I too was a bit puzzled by the depth of the house, and then looking at the side elevation, I find the architectural design is quite interesting and being stepped back. So I think it's quite an interesting design. I don't see any issues that I personally have. I'd be quite willing to move a motion for the acceptance of this application in keeping with forestry requirement. I believe it's number 2.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, am I correct? Oh, this is Vesta, yes. So this one has a forestry condition number 2 attached to it.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve, subject to forestry. Is there a second to that motion? There is.
I just wondered if my colleague would, because of the depth variances and the explanation we received, would you like to tie it to a plan so that there's no, so that we're clear with respect to that?
Absolutely, and I so just to amend my motion, that I would move to accept the application and tie it to the plan and forestry condition number 2.
Okay. Is there a second to that amended motion? There is. Okay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. There's a motion.
I'm clear. What plan? Are we tying it to a specific plan or
Plan as
all the plans? Pardon me?
The plans as they are presented.
Oh, all the plans. Okay.
Okay.
We could probably pick one that just maybe which one shows there may be one that shows the details sufficiently. Just a sec.
Is A209 and A210.
Okay.
You mean 208 and 209? I think 210 shows sort of the interior.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 208 would work, and sorry, 20. Which ones are the other ones?
They're both labeled as west elevations, so I think that part's confusing.
South elevations, it's the west elevations, yes.
Yeah, just if Mr. Bronskill can clarify, where the elevation is shown, they both have west elevation, but then in the bottom part, it says, one says south elevation, the other says north.
Hi, Mr. Bronsky, if I... Are, you are unmuted?
I'm still here, yes.
So if you look at the elevation on the screen, it's labeled as west, but both A208 and 209 are labeled as west elevation. But if you look at what's just been highlighted on the screen for you, it then refers to north elevation, and then 209 is labeled as south elevation.
And my apologies. Oh, there, sorry, but perfect timing from my computer. It had frozen. So let me just, if you can, just bear with me one moment just to pull the plans back up. Apologies. Just so that I can look at it on my screen and not have to look at it on the WebEx. Yeah, my suggestion, if it's helpful to the committee, yes, I think the label that's at number 1 on both of those elevations, through you, Mr. Chair, that Ms. Hayes, you were mentioning. So drawing A208 and A209, they're both labeled as west elevation. I think they're correctly labeled as north elevation and south elevation. So I think that one west elevation with a scaling is probably just a remnant that wasn't updated or deleted. So I think the north elevation might be a good plan to use to tie this to in terms of the plans, because it shows the stepping, which I think is important.
So the member's motion,
that's
which
a help.
has been seconded, is subject to forestry and then tied to plans A208 and 209, which are the north and south elevations.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, thank you. That's the detail matters here. So, Mr. Byatt, that would be the nature of the motion, and tied to 208 and 209 north and south.
That'd be fine.
Okay, do we have a second for that motion? There is. Ms. Hayes seconds the motion. Motion to approve. Seconded. Panel, all those in favor, show of hands, please. Motion is carried, unanimous vote, and the application is so approved. Thank you very much. And panel moves on to item number 17, which is 92 Atlas Avenue. On this one, we are looking at applicants' materials submitted, correspondence from Transportation Services, and there is correspondence in both support and in opposition. In support from 81 Atlas Avenue, 21 form letters in support from owners and occupants at a long list of addresses on Atlas. And in opposition from 96 Atlas, 95, 90 Atlas, and 94 Atlas. Just for the record, those support letters, I'll just read the numbers. Support letters, 21 of them from 40, 61, 67, 73, 82, 85, 87, 89, 97, 99, 93, 98, 102, 107, 116, 122, 124, 168, 169, 170, 180. Very good. And moderator, on this application, I see there's just one speaker registered. Okay. And that speaker is registered in support, interest, or opposition. I'd like to begin with that speaker. Can you put me in touch with that speaker, Jeff Holden?
Hi there. I'm Jeff Holden from 75 Atlas. I live right across the street.
Okay, Jeff, my question for you, I have a question here. We're going to hear from the agent first, but
sure.
May I ask you this? Are you expecting to speak in support or in opposition to the?
Frankly, I have questions that have not been sufficiently answered in the past, or inconsistently, and I'm here to listen. I do have some general comments about it, but I'm happy to let the agent go first and speak to that.
Let's do that then. I'll ask you to stand by.
Sure.
And we'll go to the agent, who I will ask to join us now, stating your name, please.
Hi, my name is Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West, agent for the owner.
Okay, Joe. Joe, we're going to ask you if you would grace us with your presentation, please. You have 5 minutes. If you need it, go ahead now, please.
Sure. I'd first like to clarify overall that while the application is labeled on the public notice as proposing a new parking pad, what is actually being proposed is legalizing and bringing up to code the existing front yard parking space with permeable pavers, and the existing curb cut will not be changed in any way. Furthermore, there's no impact on front yard soft landscaping, so it's the one variance for parking. For context, the owner has elaborated that it would be an extreme hardship for her without a designated front yard parking space, as she runs a business which necessitates going in and out of the house frequently and going out to job sites. She is very community minded. Every month she employs anywhere from 15 to 20 part-time and full-time workers. As well, for some of their projects, they do affordable housing. We've read the 4 neighbors' comments that have actually provided a written comments and understand their concerns. However, I would like to note that front yard parking represents a very large existing character of the street. There are currently 110 legal front yard parking spaces on Atlas Avenue, as referenced on the city's list of locations licensed for residential off-street parking on Atlas Avenue. And furthermore, 2 of the 4 owners who have written to oppose the application currently enjoy their own legal front yard parking spaces. That would be 94 and 96 Atlas. To speak to their concerns of a reduction in street parking, I should elaborate that if this parking variance is approved, there wouldn't be any reduction of street parking because the owner will be able to park on her property. Otherwise, the owner will have to park on the street, and in that case, there actually would be a reduction in the availability of street parking. The proposal also includes permeable pavers to improve water management. Regarding the right-of-way and rear yard driveway, the driveway at the rear is mislabeled on the plans. It's actually existing, not new. The city came by the property and verified that the right-of-way driveway space between the 2 houses is insufficient. There's simply not enough room for a car to get through. Therefore, the rear garage is only used for storage, not parking. And we have submitted, as you mentioned, 21 letters of support on file from Atlas Avenue and another letter of support from 81 Atlas that was submitted on condition that there will be no loss of street parking due to the driveway widening, which we can confirm. Finally, there is correspondence on file from Transportation Services, Permits and Enforcement, Parking, indicating that they have no comment for this application. And in light of all these factors, we feel that this application is reasonable and minor in nature, and I'd be happy to answer any questions we have.
Thank you very much. Let's go now to Mr. Holden, who is standing by, and see where he stands now.
Thank you. So with that statement then from the transportation group, does that mean there will be no vehicles parked in the two-car garage that exists?
Mr. Holden, yeah, we're not going to be able to do sort of questions and answers at this time.
Okay, so may I make a couple of statements then? There is an existing two-car garage. There have been cars parked in it previously to this resident, right? The building is not yet occupied. The entire building was demolished and rebuilt, and so if parking was a concern, why was that not considered as part of the initial plan? And you know, the biggest issue I think that the neighbors have is the inconsistency in what is being communicated to us, and failure to answer questions that we've had about the use of the two-car garage of the property and the general usage, because 3 parking spots seems excessive for a single-family home. This isn't a semi-detached home lacking a shared or a common driveway.
Thank you very much. Panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Panel, any questions for Mr. Holden? Okay, then let's go back to the agent then. Agent, the concern there is that the building was demolished and rebuilt. Why wasn't the parking issue simply, why wasn't a compliant parking issue or parking consideration built into that plan?
I'm not aware of the previous application. As far as I'm aware, the house itself was built as of right. So there was no committee of adjustment hearing there, and so yeah. So as far as this application goes, it's just the parking space, but the rear, the garage in the rear is only for storage. So that I can confirm. It's just there's not enough room for a car to get through. And so, yeah, that's the only that's the only situation that they can do.
Very good, thank you. Panel, your opportunity. Any questions for the agent? Okay, seeing none, let's take the application into committee for a motion, please. Or discussion. Ms. Valentini?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to bring a motion on this one. I understand that there's been objection or opposition to the application. A lot of it seemed to stem from losing any on-street parking or expanding the curb cut, but we've got confirmation from the applicant that that's not the case. They're not going to be expanding the curb cut. It's an existing parking spot that they're seeking to, I suppose, legalize. I guess they're putting permeable pavers in as well. So, and we've also heard there's 110 spaces currently, front yard parking spaces on that list. So this is actually a predominant condition to have front yard parking. I'm in favor of the application, and for the reasons that I think it meets the 4 tests and it fits within the character of the neighborhood, I would like to bring a motion for approval of the application without any conditions.
Thank you. Second to that motion by Mr. Byatt. So it is moved and seconded to approve. All those in favor, show of hands, please. And the motion is carried. Mr. Chang? Oh, thank you. Okay, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. And the application is approved. Panel moves on to item number 18. ALBERTA Avenue. On 36 Alberta, we've got applicant's materials, cover letter from the applicant. There's correspondence in response to opposition received from the applicant. Presentation materials from the applicant, dated 30 June. commenting report from Urban Forestry, and correspondence in support and in opposition. A 3-signature petition in support, signed by owners, occupants 34, 38 Alberta Avenue, and also 27 Mount Royal. In opposition, from 40 Winona Drive, Chris and Gina Karginianis. And with that, I'll ask the owner to join us, please, stating your name.
Hello, can you hear me well?
We do hear you well.
Good morning. Thank you for attending our matter today. My name is Gil Comet. I am owner or co-owner, co-applicant, and will be the agent for this application.
Thank you, Gil. Gil,
Hello.
just stand by for a moment, please, while I check with panel members. Panel members, any questions for the applicant? Presentation required? Doesn't appear to be request for either. That being the case, I shall look to panel for a motion, please. Just one second before I do that. Just going to check. So there was a letter in opposition from 40 Winona. And have you seen the letter in opposition, applicant?
Indeed, I have, and I've responded to it. The second letter that is labeled objection is actually my response to the objection.
Okay.
So I can recap that.
Please do that.
I sent that to the committee and to the owner of 40 Winona. He just hasn't looked at our request, it seems. He says we want to be a triplex, but this is in fact taking an old duplex. We've always used it as a single family home since we've immigrated to Canada. We want to just give it the update and make it structure as well, a single family home. The second objection he calls, I think, for parking. Well, we're a single family, single car. We have a front yard parking pad that was achieved without cutting the curb. So nothing was extracted from the street as well. I don't see a problem there. And the third, he says he lives behind me, which is incorrect. He lives in front of me. There are no line sights between our properties. I am not adding height to the building. I'm not. I don't have a height variance. There's a parallel wall, pairs of wall variances, but not. So basically, I can't see any. I've invited him to either that I come over with printed plans to review. I've offered him to knock on my door at any time or call me on my cell. I haven't heard back. But there is nothing that I see from his letter that is concretely related to what we're asking for.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, panel. Are we ready for a motion, panel? Or if you have any questions, go ahead, please.
I'm prepared to start. I took, having reviewed all the detailed drawings and having to use the zoom feature to use, there's so much information on those drawings, which is very helpful in considering it, but I think that the applicant has provided a lot of information in support of the application. I believe the variance is being requested in the context of the neighborhood and the specific context of the property are appropriate. You know, making the wider dormer on the front more square and open, in the rear it's sort of redoing the whole back. There's been some examples provided of similar character structures in the neighborhood. I believe that what's being requested is appropriate, meets the 4 tests, and I would move to approve the applicant, and it's got the support of both the neighbors, and I would be prepared to move a motion to support the application, subject to forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Second to that, seconded by Ms. Valentini. So it is moved and seconded to approve, subject to forestry. Panel members, all those in favor, show of hands, please. And the motion is carried, unanimous vote, and the application is approved, subject to forestry. Panel moves on to.
Mr. Chair, the next item will be item 20. Item 19 has to be held because the public hearing notice stated a time of 2 p.m. So we just have to hold that one for the next time slot.
Thank you. And I'm just going to check now with the moderator. Moderator, we had also held number 12, 82 Dixon Avenue. Have we had any word back on whether that applicant was able to gain clarification from the zoning examiner?
I see here that he's still trying to reach Toronto Buildings, so it's not 100% confirmed.
Okay, so we haven't really stepped forward. Okay, so question to you, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, if we are unable to get clarification on that held item number 12, what would be the appropriate course forward for the panel on that application?
We'll hold that one for 2 p.m. as well because we have one item left and we're running out of time on the YouTube stream.
Good plan, thank you very much. Okay. Okay then, panel. We're moving on now to item number 20. Item number 20 comes to us with the applicant's materials, covering letter from the agent, and there is correspondence in opposition from 10 Babby Point Road, Adam Paminter. And there are also just in, on the 2nd of July, 2 form letters in support by the owners and occupants of 14 Babby Point Road and 23 Thornhill Ave. Both of those received on July the 2nd. So, just to clarify then, we do, moderator, we just have the agent with us, correct, registered? Yes. Okay then, so agent, we'll ask you to join us please by stating your name.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jay Smith, agent for 12 Babby Point Road.
Good afternoon to you. Okay. Panel, questions of the applicant? No. Now, I'd just like to mention that there was in that letter of correspondence from number 10 Babby Point, a number of issues were raised that related primarily to construction matters, specifically construction access to their property, which they felt was likely to be requested in order to to undertake the work at 12 Babby Point next door if it was approved. But those were construction issues, and apparently that particular opposition writer is not standing by to speak. That being the case, panel, have I asked you, are there any questions for this applicant? No? Okay then. No request for a presentation either. Are we ready for a movement to a motion?
Mr. Chair, I've reviewed all the materials provided, which have been very thorough, in addition to the covering letter provided by the agent. It is noted that some of the variances in terms of side yard setback and eaves are existing. And I am in favor of this application. As you noted, some of the objections do relate to construction issues, which is something that's outside the purview of this committee. But in any event, I think the rear two-story addition fits within what is currently existing in the neighborhood. I did note that it is going to be similar to, or not as far back as the depth in terms of 14 adjacent to it, and we've been provided by the agent with precedence in terms of FSI. So in my view, this meets the four tests, and I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application without any conditions.
Thank you. Panel, is there a second to that motion? There is. Mr. Byatt. It is moved and seconded to approve. Those in favor, please, show of hands. And the motion is carried, unanimous vote, and the application is so approved. So what that does for us now is, with the exception of applications number 12, 82 Dixon, and number 19, 103 Winchester, it does wrap up the morning agenda. Now, those two applications I cited will be held over to the afternoon agenda and added to it. And what I'm going to cite here or suggest is that we will recess now until the afternoon agenda begins, and I'm going to say that the afternoon agenda will begin that to give panel members and staff appropriate time for a recess. Will begin at 2:10. So do be prompt for a return at 2:10 to begin the afternoon agenda. Now in recess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.